Hey extra! You better listen up because this is the first part of What If Bakugou Went Through the Shield Hero's Experience. Chapter 1 King Explosion Murder the Shield Hero. Author's note, my first sort of crossover fanfic. This story is basically replacing Naofumi with Bakugou from My Hero Academia as the Shield Hero. While I will follow the general plot of Shield Hero, things won't go exactly as they did in the anime, manga, so Bakugou will do things differently, have different adventures, and he won't be having the same teammates, so unfortunately no Philo or Raphtalia in Team Bakugou. They won't be non-existent and will appear in the story, and I promise Raphtalia won't die in a slave cage, but I doubt Bakugou is going to be doing the exact same things Naofumi will do, and having things go exactly the same would make the story redundant, so I doubt he would be buying slaves or picking the same egg. I should note that this takes place between Season 3 and 4 of MHA, so this was after Bakugou's and Izuku's big fight, Bakugou's heartfelt speech after it, and before the internships, so we will be following a slightly less arrogant Bakugou than he was in the first episode. With that said, enjoy the story. Chapter 1, The Unorthodox Hero. Die germs. Die. 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 Relax man, you're just brushing your teeth, says young Kirishima, who is alongside his friend Katsuki Bakugou brushing their teeth at the male dorm's bathroom in U, a high school, the most prestigious hero school in all of Japan. Bakugou, after he finished his brushing, spits out in the sink. All Might always has a bright smile on him, and if I'm going to be number one I need an even better smile than he had. I'm not going to let some primitive bacteria ruin that for me, he answers to Kirishima, who just shrugs and goes along with it as he finishes his brushing. Today was Sunday, so school was not in session for the day. For most of the class this is a time of rest from a week of harrowing schoolwork, but to others, schoolwork never ends, and Bakugou is one of them. This is especially true to him now since he failed his provisional hero licensing test along with a fellow rival student Shito Todoroki. He was now behind his peers, including his former childhood friend Deku. The one kid he always saw as a quirkless weakling was now ahead of him. Despite these setbacks, Bakugou and Shito are being given a chance to retake the licensing exam in a few months, as long as they both took a bunch of extra courses that will start next week. However, while U is mostly a school to make new heroes in their superpowered based society, it is still a high school, and the students still must learn their basic education, including learning math, science, literature, and history to ever be able to graduate as heroes. And tomorrow there is going to be a big history exam on Meiji period Japan, and no one can afford to fail it. After brushing his teeth and eating breakfast, Bakugou was ready to head for the school's library to study for that very history exam. Kirishima had other priorities though. Hey Bakugou, want to train a bit more at the gym? I heard the school had brought in some new equipment, he asked Bakugou. Haven't you forgot we have a big history exam tomorrow, idiot? I still need to study for that, so I'll be at the library for most of the day. Bakugou rudely answers to his friend, though Kirishima is used to it by now, knowing Bakugou is always like this no matter who he is talking to. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. Well, I think I'll do okay myself, so do whatever you want bro, but when you're done looking at old books I'll be at the gym for most of the day, so see y'all later, Kirishima says as he and Bakugou go in separate directions of the school. At U.A.'s library, Bakugou has spent the last few hours reading various Japanese history texts, studying and taking notes on them. Despite being a tough fighter and having an explosive personality, Bakugou was still quite the book-smart student, being the number 3 student based on regular course grades, with only Tenya Ida and Momo Ierazu having higher grades than him. Of course, just because he's smart and needs to study for the history exam, that doesn't mean he has to remotely like it. He wants to be the best and wants to train himself to be a better hero and should prepare for his licensing test, but he is stuck in a library learning to be better at his least favorite subject. After skimming over the last textbook, Bakugou finally had enough of it and slams the book cover. This is so stupid. I'm in one of the best hero schools in the entire planet and I'm reading about ancient shit that doesn't matter anymore. Bakugou says to himself as he grabbed the books and angrily puts them where he found them. That makes the bookshelves rumble. I can understand learning math, I can understand learning some science, but why the hell are we learning about non-work related history? Who the hell cares about why we went to war with Russia in 1904, and who the hell cares about what American forced our backward-ass society to open up to trade? He yells quietly to himself since he was in a library as he continues to angrily put away the books. Bakugou finally finds the last location to put in the last book. I'm supposed to be the goddamn best, and next week I'm going to be stuck doing a bunch of extra classes with Icy Hot just so I can get my damn provisional license, and Mr. Reizawa has us learning this crap. I hate history. Bakugou finally slammed the last book back into its location, and the force of Bakugou's push made the bookshelf rumble again, but this time the force made a single book fall off onto the floor. Bakugou noticed and decided to walk over to pick it up. It may not matter much to him, but he knew better than to leave messes behind, as he learned well about being a hero that it's proper hero etiquette to clean up any mess you make after fighting villains. Bakugou finally picked up the book and read the cover, The 4 Cardinal Weapons. What the hell is this supposed to be about? He says to himself. For curiosity's sake he decided to read a little into it himself just to see what weapons the book is talking about. Perhaps it could be useful for harrowing. He opens it up and reads over the first few pages of the book. The book describes a world in danger, with waves of many monsters coming into it to destroy everything. The book goes on to talk about the 4 cardinal heroes, warriors who are summoned from other worlds to wield the 4 cardinal weapons to fight these deadly waves off. The weapons being a spear, a sword, a bow, and a shield. What kind of retarded idiot goes off fighting monsters with just a shield? Unless you're that ancient comic hero Captain America, I guess. Bakugou laughs to himself at the book, finding the concept stupid. He then skims over the rest of the book that gave descriptions of the spear, sword, and bow hero, and a brief chapter on some beachy princess. Bakugou wasn't impressed and was starting to lose interest as he was just turning through most of the book at this point. I should have known this was a waste of time. This is just some crappy old fantasy novel geeks would read. I might as well see what stupid things they say about the shield idiot. He says to himself, and finally gets to the chapter that talks about the shield hero. But when he turned the page it was completely blank. What in the hell is this? He says, flipping over more pages, finding more of them completely blank. Bakugou is thinking this might have been just a defective book. But suddenly the book was somehow glowing and was turning the blank pages by itself. Bakugou throws the book on the ground and was completely confused by it, but then he quickly noticed the bookshelves were also glowing brightly in front of him. What's going on? Is this some prank by Class B? But as Bakugou looks around he notices that other than the bookshelves the rest of the library was gone, and the bookshelves began to rise up quickly and endlessly. He also quickly noticed that the ground itself was gone and he began to fall. Bakugou had no idea what was going on and could only yell as he falls into a bright nothingness. He attempts to use his explosion quirk to propel himself and slow his fall, but the explosions did nothing to stop his fall and could only yell some more as he falls into the light. The fall finally stopped with Bakugou safely hitting the ground on his stomach with some weird symbol on it. What the hell just happened? Bakugou says to himself, but as he places his left hand on his face, he then noticed some sort of device was on his arm that looked like a metal plate. Who the hell did this? But before he could finish he heard other groaning next to him. He looked beside himself and saw 3 other Japanese teenagers. One was tall with long blonde hair with a ponytail and red clothes, another was pale-skinned with black hair and blue clothes, and the last one was the shortest of the 3 with blonde hair with green eyes and clothes. Fantastic. The summoning was a success. Bakugou looked over to what made that voice and saw a group of robed cloaked figures with all but one in the middle wearing a hood. The 4 young men were all equally confused and weirded out by this strange place they were all in as they stand up. Though Bakugou in particular was quite angry by all of this, thinking something is up. The middle-robed man finally spoke to them. Please, oh brave heroes, our world is in dire need of save. But Bakugou interrupts and tackles the guy to the ground, surprising and scaring everyone. Bakugou sat on top of him and had his hand on the terrified man's face. "Who the hell are you people, and why the hell did you kidnap me? Are you with the League of Villains? For the last time, I will never join you freaks of nature, and I will never be a villain. So all of you villains can go right to hell." He yells at the man who was just scared out of his mind of his so-called savior, but before Bakugou could do anything else, the three summoned others grabbed onto him and removed Bakugou off of the man. "Let me go, you assholes," he yells as he struggles with the three. "Calm down, will ya? We are just as clueless as you are, but tackling and screaming at people isn't going to help us find the answers." The short green-eyed one said. Bakugou was still struggling and was about to use his quirk on them, but as he looks back at the hooded group, they all looked terrified by Bakugou. He quickly sees that these people were not real villains at all. Real villains wouldn't ever be afraid of the very people they kidnapped. He finally calmed down and stopped struggling with the summoned others as they get off of Bakugou. "Okay, fine, but you hooded weirdos better explain this well and how we even got here," he demanded as he clutches his fist in front of them. The one that was tackled got himself back up and got his composure back after taking some deep breaths. I'm very sorry if we have frightened all of you, but our world is in need of your help. We used an ancient ritual that is used to summon the cardinal heroes of legend, which is what you four are. Our world needs you, brave heroes, as great evil is upon us," he explains to the four, though what the guy was saying sounded familiar. That made Bakugou start thinking, wait? World in the brink of destruction, four cardinal heroes? He turns and noticed the three others that were summoned had a spear, a sword, and a bow, exactly like what that book said. Am I? He looks at his arm again and now noticed that the device he had on looked like a shield with a green gem at its center. Was he really the shield hero just like the one in the book? That book I just read, it just teleported me here and now I'm in some fantasy world. Did I? God damn it. I'm in one of those stupid isekai worlds, am I? He yells out loud as he face palms himself with both hands, knowing that he was now in one of those situations. The other three that were summoned didn't say a word after his outburst, only rolling their eyes. The hooded figures were just as confused. Eyes? What? The center one asked. The summoned one with the spear decided to speak up. Ignore him, something must have screwed with his brain when he came in here. Now back on topic on the whole heroes and the world in danger thing. You can forget it. What the hell did you say about me, asshole? Bakugou yells at him after he quickly lifts his head back up after hearing that blunt insult and statement, but the spear guy just ignored him. The bow one also spoke up. I also refuse myself. You brought us here without our consent. Don't you feel the least bit guilty about that? The one with the sword also says. Not to mention, if you throw us out as soon as we restore peace, we would have done all of that work for nothing. The bow summoner says, feeling entitled to a reward. How willing are you going to accommodate our requests? The spear guy asked the group. Bakugou wasn't that angered by their statements, except for the spear guy's insult before it obviously. He would have said similar statements, however, he finds it hypocritical for them to stop him from demanding questions after being kidnapped, but these three assholes were already demanding things when they did absolutely nothing yet. Bakugou hates many things like villains and deku before you. But if there's anything on the planet he hates just as much as villains or hypocrites. Good sirs, before I say any more, we'd like you to have an audience with the King of Melromarc. You can negotiate your rewards with him directly, so please. The centered robed figure responds, pointing the way with the rest of the robed group leaving the room with the three summoners going along with it for now. The group begins to walk out to the king, but Bakugou just stood there. He still couldn't believe what is happening. This can't be real. Am I really in some magical fantasy world now? No, don't fool yourself, Bakugou. This must be some trick by some villain with an illusion or hologram quirk to do all of this. Or am I asleep and someone with a dream quirk is fucking with me? He says to himself. He decides to test this by putting his hand on his arm to make a small but painful explosion on his arm in an attempt to wake himself up. Ouch. Damn it. I guess this isn't some crazy dream after all, but there's still that hologram theory. He then decides to punch the closest wall to see if his hand just phases right through it like any hologram. It doesn't. Ow. God damn it. I can't believe this is actually real. He yells as he looks at his reddened hand from the pain of punching at the stone wall. A shield hero, are you alright? One of the cloaked figures asks, with the other robed figures and the summoned heroes just as weirded out by him. I'm fine, just take us to this king already so I can get this stupid game over with, Bakugou grumbles as he angrily walks with the others. Bakugou hopes the old bastard will finally clear things up as he and all the others head to the king. After a few minutes of walking within the large castle, the 4 summoners including Bakugou were finally at the throne room with 2 large fancy chairs at the end of it where the kingdom's monarchs reside at, with one that was empty and the other one is where the king was sitting on, an older mild-aged man who fits the look of a typical European monarch with a high crown, a gray beard, and purple eyes. Once the 4 were at the center of the throne room that had many other nobles, knights, servants, and advisors watching a historical event. The king finally spoke, "So you young men are the 4 cardinal heroes of legend. This is the land of Melromarc and I am your king, Alt-Cray Melromarc the 32nd. Welcome brave heroes. Please identify yourselves." The sword hero spoke out first. "I'm Ranamaki, I'm a high school student and 16 years old." The spear hero was next. "I'm Motoyasuke Tamura, college student 21. Then the bow hero, Itsuki Kawasumi, "I'm still in high school and I'm 17. Bakugou knew he was up next and spoke, "The name's Katsuki, Ren, Motoyasu, and Itsuki." The king completely interrupts and cuts off a now confused Bakugou, but it also made him into a really mad Bakugou. The king then continued, "Now then I think it is time that I hey senile asshole." Bakugou yells at the king, surprising and alerting the king, making him widen his eyes open, along with making the rest of the court completely shocked that someone would say that in front of royalty, even a hero. The other 3 summoned heroes were just as shocked and were now getting nervous by Bakugou's short temper. "Hey man, don't be throwing insults like that toward a king, he could have all of us beheaded for you." Saying that, a nervous Itsuki says to him, "I don't give a rat's ass who he is. He asked us to identify ourselves and yet he completely ignores me. If this old fool doesn't show me respect, I don't see why I should give him any." Bakugou yells out loud for everyone to hear, including the king. The startled King Alt-Cray then apologizes to Bakugou. "Ah yes. I'm very sorry for ignoring you like that, Sir Shield Hero. Can you please identify yourself?" "Yes, the name's Katsuki Bakugou, 15 years of age and enrolled in U.A. high school to be the best of the best, and no one is going to say otherwise. And don't you dare forget it," Bakugou says, with him pointing his finger at the king, who didn't look amused. Itsuki only rolled his eyes. "Great, another prideful jerk who will brag about everything, about himself. Just what I need more of in my life," he thinks to himself with Bakugou's showboating. The king then speaks again. "Now then I suppose I should explain why we brought you here in the first place." He went on to explain the situation of their world. Apocalyptic swarms of deadly monsters had recently been popping up in the various kingdoms of the world. They have been referred to as waves that happen when the sky turns red, and strange-looking portals would appear all over, allowing the monsters to come out. The kingdoms of this world had dealt with one wave already. They succeeded in driving them off with their armies and willing adventurers, but they only barely won, with many casualties. They knew full well that they will only get worse as they go on and on. So the 4 cardinal heroes were summoned with their divine cardinal weapons to hopefully get strong enough to fight them off and put an end to them. All of the nations of the world had magic dragon hourglasses that track the time of the wave invasions. The next wave will appear according to their church's estimate in less than a month. So you see, that's why you are all here. We followed the legend and summoned you. But now we have no time to lose." King Alt-Cray finishes explaining. Ren then lays down his sword. Okay, so we get the gist of it. Now anyway, I'm sure you didn't summon us to do all of this for free? One of the king's advisors then answers him. Of course not. Once you repel all of the waves, we will ensure that all of you will be handsomely rewarded. Motoyasu then speaks. Well then, I guess we have no choice but to take your word for it. Ren speaks again, and don't think you can renege with us. We will cooperate, but don't think for a moment that you can tame us. And finally Itsuki, exactly, we will not work with you if you look down on us. Not interested. Everyone was shocked and surprised to hear that statement. The king, the three other heroes, and the court all stared at the one who made it, shield hero Bakugou. The king attempts to speak to him. Shield hero? It's Bakugou damas. Yes sir Bakugou, I'm sorry, but what do you mean by not interested? The king asked. Bakugou quickly answers him. It means I'm not interested in this stupid quest, simple as that. So you might as well take me back home and get some other poor idiot to do this job for you. The court was in even greater shock. Was one of their saviors going to just ignore them in their greatest time of need? Itsuki was the first hero to talk back at him. Bakugou, these people are in danger of being killed by monsters and all you can say is not interested to them? Bakugou responds, funny you say that, considering that about a few seconds ago, you and the two others said that you would want nothing to do with this until you get rewarded first. Well yeah, if we are going to be forced anywhere and risk our lives, we should at least be compensated for it. Is there anything wrong with that? Itsuki says, justifying what he and the others said earlier. Yeah, make whatever excuse you want, but I never asked to be anyone's hero. I was forced to be here against my will, and this old, inbred clown is going to be telling me what to do. Besides, I don't even have my provisional hero license yet, so I'm not even worthy of being anyone's hero right now. Bakugou admits out loud. Hero license? What's he even talking about? Itsuki thinks to himself. Motoyasu speaks up as well. Dude, we are basically in a video game right now. A chance of a lifetime and you just want to throw it away, for the boring normal world? I didn't join you. High school to play games. I need to go back to my classes, including the new ones I'm going to have to be doing soon to do my makeup hero's license test, so I don't need any of this isekai crap right now, he answers bluntly toward Motoyasu, who was already despising Bakugou right now. Are you serious? You want to leave here just to go back to school? Your brain must have really been damaged from that transfer. Motoyasu continues insulting him like, I asked for your opinion, ponytail. Bakugou insults back, irritating the college student. The king finally speaks up again, still surprised and confused. But Sir Shield, it's Bakugou. Yes Bakugou, millions of lives are dependent on all four of you. The world won't be able to survive without their four cardinal heroes. You're not going to just leave us to die, are you? The king says, getting angry at Bakugou. As I said already, I was never asked to do any of this bullcrap, and some other idiot can do this for you. Now send me back home. Bakugou demanded again. The king then sighs to himself as he looks back at Bakugou. Unfortunately, Sir Bakugou, even if I wanted to just get rid of you right now and send you home, I'm afraid to say that there is no way to send you back to your old world. What the hell do you mean there's no way to send me back? Bakugou yells again at the king. The ritual we have done can only summon heroes from other worlds to here. It doesn't work the other way around. Only will beating the waves will your weapons allow you to have the ability to go home. No other magic will work. And we can only summon newer heroes if all four of you die for us to do the ritual again, and I doubt any of you like that idea, says the king, getting irritated by Bakugou's attitude. How long are these waves going to last? Bakugou asked the king. How long? I have no idea. It might take a few months or maybe even a year or two to stop them. The king answers. Bakugou, years. Goddamn years. A completely angry Bakugou starts to stomp his way toward the king. You've seen island-bred old bastard. He gets closer to the throne until guards with long pike axes stop him, along with a dozen other knights raising out their swords at him. Do you have any damn idea what you have done to me? I'm now going to be permanently behind on my schoolwork. I will now look like a fool to everyone at my homeworld and may even lose my chance to be a real hero to people that actually matter to me." The king was about to lose his patience with Bakugou getting very angry at him. "Listen here, Sir Bakugou, I'm sorry for taking you out of whatever sort of academic study you were doing. Had we known anything about that or your personality, we wouldn't have summoned you as a cardinal hero in the first place. But the ritual never allowed us to do such a thing, so we just have to go along with whoever is summoned. And right now my people are in immediate danger from being murdered by monsters, and as their king it is my responsibility to protect them. Any sort of petty issues you might have had before doesn't matter here. You can yell at me as much as you want, but it doesn't change the fact that there is no other way for you to go home other than to fight the waves and save my subjects' world. So either you can keep whining like a child and accomplish nothing, or you will just go along with your duty until you saved the world you are meant to protect." After the king's long speech, Bakugou could only stare at the king angrily, at his eyes that are about as angry at him for a good solid 30 seconds. The room was mostly silent, with no one else saying a word, including the three other heroes. After half a minute of thinking, Bakugou stopped his stare and backed down. "Fine. I guess I don't have an actual choice in the matter. I'll do this stupid quest and get out of this backward-ass dump as soon as possible. Don't expect me to roll over like any dog just because you tell me so." The king was finally relieved that issue had been settled. "All right, now then, if I can trust that we are now at an agreeable arrangement, I would like you brave heroes. And why the hell am I stuck with this stupid shield? You expect me to fight monsters with this stinky little thing?" Bakugou yells at the king, still angry at the arrangement, making Ren and Itsuki facepalm from his attitude. "He is so going to be executed," Motoyasu says to himself out loud. The king could only angrily twitch his eyes as he now has to tolerate this bratty child. "Look, I didn't choose the damn weapons for you. That is how the ritual did it, so you are just going to have to get used to the weapon you were given. Your weapons will power up and allow you to gain new abilities, and you can recruit many teammates to help you in any way if you find your offensive skills lacking. So can you let me finish speaking, please? Maybe you just did your damn ritual wrong and screwed up." Bakugou yells at the king, deciding to stomp his way back to the other three, knowing that he wasn't going to get much of anything more out of the old bastard. "Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at this point if it did make a mistake if you're really a cardinal hero," the king says as he tries to pull back his anger. "Now again, would you brave heroes check your statuses?" Bakugou was wondering what the old coot even meant by that, with Itsuki just as confused. Sir King, what is it that you are talking about? Are you just as dense as Bakugou here? It should have been the first thing you saw when we first got here. Don't you see the icon on the lower right corner of your vision? Try focusing your attention on it." Ren answers as if he's familiar with this sort of thing. Both Itsuki and Bakugou tried it out and did notice an icon floating on the bottom corner of their eyes. They focused on it and it quickly pops open a screen that showed off descriptions and statuses like health, magic power, speed, stealth, defense, and many other different statuses for adventurers. Bakugou's stats were impressive for just a level 1 higher than the three other heroes, in fact, except for one thing, attack, which was only at 1 attack. "This world sucks," he says to himself. "Only level 1? Well, that's really disconcerting, isn't it?" Itsuki says after looking at his stats. The king's advisor then explained what this was. "This is called status magic, an ability exclusive to heroes to allow you to see how you are right now and how much you all have improved." Ren continued to ask questions. "So where do we go from here?" "You four will go off on an adventure to upgrade and develop your legendary weapons and learn many new skills along the way," the advisor explained. The three heroes liked the idea of being in a real fantasy adventure, but Bakugou was finding this idea foolish. "So what? You're just going to throw us out into this dangerous world and just say good luck to us? No need to worry, we will be discussing funding and party members for the four of you by tomorrow. We wouldn't leave our heroes with nothing but the clothes on their backs. The advisor explains to Bakugou, who still didn't like how this king was handling this supposed serious situation. Ren speaks again. Well then, we will need to learn to properly handle our weapons. Yeah, we could even make up a team together. With the 4 of us we would be unstoppable. Itsuki comments. If I'm going to be forced to be stuck with you nerds, I'm going to be the team leader, Bakugou says back at Itsuki, who didn't like the idea. Motoyasu also gives his view on that. Why the hell would you be team leader? You're the youngest of us here. I'm the oldest, so I should be the leader. Because unlike you I have an actual brain ponytail. He mocks at Motoyasu, who was getting more irritated by that insult. But then the king's advisor explains more. Hold on a second heroes, I've neglected to mention that each of you needs to form parties of your own. By their very nature, your divine weapons repel one another. So if you were to work together as a party it will hinder their development. Bakugou thought that was a stupid design flaw, but as he thinks to himself, he didn't even want to work with these 3 idiots anyway, so this was for the best. He can now stay as far away from them as possible. The king finally spoke again. Since the sun is setting, you might as well sleep here for the night and will start your journeys tomorrow. In the meantime, we will gather the best of the best to be recruited for your parties. A female servant then walked up to the heroes. We have already settled up a room for all of you, so please come this way. The 4 heroes then followed her to their rooms, finally leaving the throne room. After the throne door closed, the king sighed in relief. Good lord, I didn't think that my meeting with the cardinal heroes would have made me raise my voice this much. The advisor speaks up. I understand, sire. The shield hero, in particular, was a bit unorthodox. The king opens up his opinion. I knew that I would hate that damn shield hero from day one, but I wouldn't have thought he was going to be a violent spoiled brat from the start, with him casually insulting his superiors like that. It reminds me of Malty too much. But despite my personal belief in the shield hero, I have a kingdom to protect, so I must give equal care for the shield hero until the waves are stopped. But I'll keep my eye on him though if he does anything stupid. Alright then, sire, but we will still need to gather their party members for tomorrow, so we will need to do our best for our warriors to be ready for their hero group leaders. The advisor reminds him. Yes, of course, the king says, but then gave a small smug smile. You are right about one thing. It's the best that before we introduce them to the heroes tomorrow that they are informed of what they will get themselves into, to which hero they pick. They should especially know about the shield heroes' character. I guess when you are special heroes of legend you get special treatment out here. And get to meet some cute girls too. Motoyasu says as the 4 heroes were all in a room together during night time after being served their meals. Bakugou was sitting on a couch mostly ignoring the other heroes, with the 3 doing the same, not wanting much to do with the guy who just repeatedly insults a king. Itsuki then speaks. Yes, our meal was quite sumptuous. It's interesting how much this resembles Dimension Web. I wonder if this is some new update they've recently done? Dimension Web, never heard of it. This is clearly almost like Emerald Online, Motoyasu supposedly corrects Itsuki. No, this is a console game, it wouldn't have anything to do with it being on a computer, Itsuki corrects back. They both seem off about this, they never heard about their respective games before. You're both wrong. This is clearly a Vermo, just like Brave Star Online. Ren speaks up to the 2 gamers. Both Motoyasu and Itsuki were confused when he said Vermo. It even got Bakugou's attention. Vermos are supposed to be very experimental stuff back at home for Bakugou. Some people with electronic and mind quirks have developed different prototypes before, but nothing commercially sold yet. And here's Ren acting like it's a common thing. Vermo? That stuff doesn't even exist yet. Itsuki commented. What are you talking about? That is all that gaming is now. No one uses consoles or computers for gaming anymore. Ren comments. The 4 didn't know what to make of this until Motoyasu decided to do a test. Alright, why don't we straighten this out? How about we compare general knowledge to each other? First of all, whose face is on the 1000 yen bill? In 1 2 3. And Atsuki, Ren, and Motoyasu all gave completely different answers, confusing all of them. Wait, who? They continued asking multiple general questions with each giving completely different answers. Bakugou didn't participate in it, but he was listening in on the whole thing, making him think to himself, even I don't have the same answers to their questions. That no doubt means we are from completely different worlds after all. It would explain why Paleface casually talks about Vermos like they are a normal thing. And judging by their world's different histories and the lack of acknowledgement of it, they seem to be from worlds with no quirks, and they're all quirkless themselves. Bakugou knew he still had his quirk from that test on his arm he did earlier. He doesn't know how it will work in this world, but he decided that he would do his best to keep it as much of a secret as possible, so he would have a few tricks up his sleeves if anything crazy happens. The three other heroes finally stop asking each other questions when they got the same picture as Bakugou. Just as I thought, we are all from different versions of Japan, Itsuki says as he sits down. And they sound nothing alike to each other. Ren also says, I figured we were just from different eras, but I guess not, huh? Motoyasu says, leaning on a chair. Well, at least this world is familiar enough to the games we play in, so it shouldn't be hard to adjust here as well. Ren says, yeah, monster fighting, battling armies of darkness and saving many cute girls. This is so awesome. It's great we also have these cool weapons too. I mean, can you imagine if all of us were stuck with only a shield to fight with? Motoyasu says, making a point to mock Bakugou's situation, which he took notice and looked angrily at Motoyasu. Motoyasu continued, I mean, imagine being stuck in a fantasy world where multiple things could eat you alive and all you have is a stupid shield with no means of an attack. I mean, I would be embarrassed by my very ex. Oh, you. Motoyasu was interrupted by getting hit in the side of the head by Bakugou's shield after he just threw it at him. Motoyasu, after rubbing his head, looked back at Bakugou angrily, who had a smug smile with his shield magically reforming back at his arm. That seemed like an attack to me, and if you can't even dodge that, I doubt you are going to last a week out here. Bakugou smugly insults back at Motoyasu. Motoyasu wasn't just going to take that and moved up toward Bakugou. Hey Pipsqueak, I don't know why you're always like this, but I'm not going to be taking your kind of bullcrap. And you can deny it as much as possible, but it is the truth. No one uses a shield to fight and no one picks the shield class. And you're only fooling yourself if you think otherwise. The truth is the shield is a loser class, which makes the one who's a part of the class a loser himself. He insults Bakugou. But Bakugou wasn't going to be taking that kind of crap from him and stood up and stared very mad in front of Motoyasu. Say that again to my face, he angrily demanded. Motoyasu, enjoying himself, continued to act smug and moved right up to Bakugou's face to rub it in. The shield class is for losers. Bakugou then bashes his forehead right on Motoyasu's nose. Ah! God damn it! Ah! Motoyasu shouts in agony as he holds his hands on his nose with Bakugou, smugly smiling afterward, with Ren and Atsuki getting nervous by this escalation of violence. Motoyasu, after shouting in pain, got himself back together and looks very angrily at Bakugou while holding his injured bloody nose. Damn it! You nearly broke my nose, you little bastard! He yells at Bakugou. So who is the bigger loser now? The loser class or the idiot who gets his ass kicked by the loser class? Bakugou mocks toward Motoyasu as he grips his spear harder. I'll show you whose ass will be kicked, shouts Motoyasu as he was about to attack with his spear, with Bakugou ready for it. But before they could attack each other, they were both stopped by Ren and Atsuki, who both jumped right in front of them and were pushing against their chests with their weapons. Alright, stop it. Both of you, we do not need to be killing each other over extremely petty crap right now. Ren scolds both of them for their behavior. But Motoyasu wouldn't let it go, but this little asshole started it in the first place. Ren wasn't sympathetic to him. You're supposed to be the oldest one here, you should be more mature than this and not be reacting so childish over it. Motoyasu was still mad at Bakugou, but he did see Ren's point and moves back a bit as he calms down. Itsuki then speaks to Bakugou, and you need to cut this attitude out. No one is going to see you as a hero if you're going to explode on everyone who makes the most minor quip about you. You are going to make the rest of us look bad with this behavior. But Bakugou wasn't interested in Itsuki's words. So what? I don't give a crap about you, or the other nerds. I don't have to listen to anything you have to say about me or give a damn about your images. What the hell is your problem? Is your goal in life to make everyone hate you as much as possible? Itsuki scolds to Bakugou, who was also commenting on his behavior since being summoned here. Maybe he just comes from a world where everyone is an asshole in it. And he's the prince of those other assholes. Motoyasu insulted back at Bakugou, still holding his injured nose. Bakugou growls back at him, but Tren finally had enough of this. Look, I don't care what you guys think of one another, but we need to focus on the challenge ahead. If these waves are as bad as the king says they are, then we need to be ready for them, and attacking each other will not accomplish that. So why don't we all just go to our rooms and rest for the night? How does that sound? Everyone was still looking angrily at each other with contempt over one another, especially on Bakugou. But after a minute of silence, the four had enough. All right, fine, let's just go to bed and meet each other with the king tomorrow, Itsuki says as he moves to his bedroom. Ow. I think I'm just going to see a nurse. See if they can do anything about my nose. Ow. Motoyasu groans as he walks out of the room, still holding his injured nose. Bakugou didn't say anything else as he stomps his way to his bedroom and slams the door behind him. Ren only sighs. This is going to be a long journey, isn't it? Back with Bakugou, he was only angry by the whole thing. I didn't ask to be here. I never wanted to be anyone's hero, right now. And I didn't ask to be stuck with this stupid shield. He yells as he rips off and throws the shield at a flower vase in anger, breaking it and leaving a mark on the wall, but the shield proceeds to dissolve and form right back on Bakugou's arm, making him facepalm himself as he sits himself on the bed. I'm supposed to become the #1 hero in my world. Graduate UA, with honors, join an awesome agency, finally go independent, and become the best hero in all of Japan. But now I'm stuck in this stupid world run by a stupid king with 3 even stupider heroes. I'm going to miss all of my classes and I will never get my license. Why the hell did this happen to me? He then smashes his fist into the wall, creating a hole in it. He was too upset to even care about it anymore and continues to just sit on the bed face palming. After a few minutes of angst and sighing of what was going on in his head, he looks up at himself in a mirror in the room. He moves up toward it. After a good look at himself, he soon starts to look at the bright side of things. Maybe it might not be all bad. Maybe this world's time works differently than mine, and like a year here is like a minute in my world, so I might not even miss anything when I go back. He talks to himself and started to finally smile again. Yeah, and if I was summoned here along with those other idiots, that must mean something. Maybe this is the universe or whatever gods out there giving me a test to prove how much of a real hero I am after bombing the provisional license exam. After all of these years of mocking Deku for being quirkless, now the tables have been turned on me to be stuck with a worthless shield among idiots with greater weapons. It's now my turn to show everyone how much of a true hero I have become. Even with my disadvantage, I'll prove to the universe that I am the greatest hero that has ever lived, like how All Might did before, with my name living on forever as the great Katsuki Bakugou. Bakugou then reaches his hand up and clutches it. Soon I will become the greatest hero of all of Melromarc, no, of this whole world, and once I get home I'll become the greatest hero of all time in my world. To be the greatest hero of 2 worlds. I will forever be #1. Plus ultra. He shouts to himself in victory, now excited for the challenge ahead of him to be the best hero of 2 worlds. Bakugou finally gets himself to bed after the speech to himself and goes to sleep, ready for whatever this world has in store for him tomorrow. Though will Bakugou be truly ready for what this world has in store? Not all monsters are the mindless beasts. Some are in that very castle waiting for the right opportunity to stalk and finally strike its prey. Chapter 2, A New Dawn and New Challenges. It was finally morning in the kingdom of Melromarc as the 4 cardinal heroes were woken up from their beds and escorted back to the throne room where the king awaits. There were also 12 different individuals in front of the king, knights, adventurers, and mages of different shapes and sizes waiting for their cardinal heroes to come in and begin to follow them. The throne door opens, and the 4 heroes come into the large room where many of the nobles of the kingdom were watching from above as an audience. Once the 4 of them were at the center of the room, the king finally spoke, "We have gathered the best warriors in the land. These brave souls will fight the waves alongside you." The other 3 heroes were wondering how the process will exactly work to pick team members, with Motoyasu in particular excited about the ladies. But Bakugou just had his arms crossed with an angry look on his face, not impressed by the party members. The king speaks up again, "Now future champions, the time has come to begin your journeys." The large group of champions all walked toward the 4 heroes, picking whoever they want to follow. Itsuki had 3 champions, Ren had the most with 5, and Motoyasu had 4, all who were girls. Bakugou had no one. None of the champions chose him, so he continues to stand there with no one willing to follow him. Despite this, Bakugou continued to stand in silence with his arms crossed, not acting upset about it. The king took notice. "Well, it seems no one has chosen the shield hero. I loathe to admit it, but even I didn't expect this. Not from me. After how he acted in front of the king yesterday, I can understand why no one wants anything to do with him," Itsuki says quietly to himself. The king spoke up again after an advisor whispered to him, "I've been made aware of a rumor that has been spreading around town that the shield hero is a loud, violent, mentally unstable individual. It looked like it influenced the choice of the champions." Rumor? Ha, it's a definitive fact that Bakugou is a psychopathic asshole. All it takes is just a good look at him and it's clear as day. Motoyasu mocks Bakugou while he rubs his bandage-covered nose from the headbutt yesterday. Bakugou continued to remain silent, making everyone weirded out. They knew how explosive the hero acted yesterday, and yet here he has no reaction to the fact he has no party members. It even drew the king's attention. "Sir Shield. Bakugou, are you alright?" "Yeah, I'm fine. Can we just get on with this already?" Bakugou finally speaks up. This somewhat confused the king. "Are you not upset that you have no party members?" he asked. "I don't need any party members right now. I will be fine by myself," Bakugou answers back. Motoyasu decided to mock Bakugou again, with, "Just your shield? Ha, you're not going to last long out there. Not that I care if you get eaten by a giant toad or something. Want me to break that nose again?" Bakugou threatened him. Motoyasu didn't say anything else, but he did growl and gave off an angry face at Bakugou for reminding him of the incident last night. Ren had also decided to speak up. "I honestly don't blame Bakugou. I prefer to go at it alone myself. Those that can't keep up will be left in the dust," he says to himself and then to his crew behind him. Itsuki also commented, "I would say we should split the teams 3 apiece to be fair, but I hardly call having to constantly be with Bakugou to be fair. If I wanted anyone to fight with me, they will have to be worthy to even be next to me and understand my power and strength, too, know that I'm the best, and can actually contribute in my quest to be the world's best hero ever, rather than having a bunch of ass-kissers surrounding me." Bakugou insults out loud to everyone, including the champions, to hear. The champions all looked angry at him, deciding to move closer to their respective hero leaders, submitting their decision that they would never get involved with the shield hero. The king then spoke again. "Well, alright then, if no one wants to volunteer and if the shield hero Sir Bakugou is content with it, then we should." "Excuse me," shouted a feminine voice. Everyone looked toward it and also saw a hand raised. It was a beautiful young woman with red hair and green eyes, who was one of the champions behind Motoyasu. "Sir Spear Hero, mind if I switch parties? I wish to be with the shield hero?" she asked him. Everyone, especially Motoyasu, was surprised that anyone would be willing to join Bakugou, but Motoyasu couldn't bear himself to argue with a beautiful woman like her. "Yeah, are you sure?" The girl gets herself closer to Bakugou and was about to put her hand on his shoulder to be friendly. Of course, a hero should never be by himself and I can provide him with anything But Bakugou quickly slaps her hand away from him. Back off. He rudely says to her. This shocked the entire court, especially the king and the girl for such a reaction. Itsuki speaks up for her. Hey Bakugou, she's just trying to be nice with you and is willing to be your partner and you're just going to be rude to her like that? The girl attempts to comfort Bakugou again. Yes sir, shield hero, I just want to help you and I said, back off. Bakugou yells and pushes her away and she falls to the ground on her butt. The entire court was horrified and all the nobles were whispering to themselves from the event. Itsuki immediately came to the girl's defense. What the hell is wrong with you? She wanted to be your partner and you just push her off like that? Bakugou finally speaks up about it. I told all of you already, I don't need the help from a bunch of ass-kissers picked by an idiot king. Especially not her. On the last part he looks back at the redhead girl who got herself back up and looked angrily at Bakugou. I can easily see it through her eyes, nothing is genuine about her. I want absolutely nothing to do with her. Bakugou saw through this girl's real personality, quickly, just as he once saw through Shindoyo's before the provisional license exam when he played up being the nice guy to get his class off guard. He doesn't trust this girl one bit. The two stared at each other for a few seconds with angry contempt. The girl then made a subtle small smirk and finally spoke, alright fine. If that's how you react to somebody wanting to help you, then I want nothing to do with an asshole like you. The girl shouts to Bakugou as she moves back behind Motoyasu and remained at his team. Good, Bakugou says to himself. Motoyasu saw this as an opportunity to mock Bakugou again. Wow, I'm impressed. You must feel good about making herself into chick repellent. It's almost like being alongside women Crete. And Bakugou quickly backhands his arm on Motoyasu's nose with his shield. Not again. Ow. Can we get on with it already? Bakugou shouts again to the king with Motoyasu growling back at Bakugou doing the best he can to not murder him in front of the whole court. The king just sighs and continues speaking. Very well then, if the shield hero doesn't want party members right now, I see no point in furthering the issue. Bakugou will have to recruit party members for himself. Now on other matters, all four of you will receive funds every month from the crown to help you with your journeys. For this one time however, Sir Bakugou will have a payment higher than the others for his lack of party members. Here are your war chests, accept them with our thanks. Four servants then walked out toward the heroes with bags of this world's currency and hand them over to the four. The shield hero will receive 800 silver coins while the other three heroes will have 600 each. The advisor says to them as they grab their coin bags. The king then makes his final speech to the group. Now procure all necessary equipment and set forth. Sir, the three heroes shouted. Hold on a second. Bakugou interrupts. What now? The three heroes sigh together. Before the king could say anything else, Bakugou speaks up first anyway. Is this really it? Why the hell are we even buying our equipment and been given no other preparation for this stupid quest? You're literally throwing us out there with just pats on the back? Sir Bakugou, the crown is providing you funding and support for this quest. What more could you possibly want? Says the king, now getting irritated by Bakugou again. How about just giving us the best equipment you have in this giant castle and large armies? How about teaching us about this world and actually training us to fight with these stupid weapons? Your answer to that is just giving us an allowance every month like that is supposed to properly prepare us for anything? Bakugou scolds at the king, who is growing angry at him for his ungratefulness. Ren tries to talk to Bakugou to calm him down. Look Bakugou, this is just how RPGs work. Just go along with it. This isn't a damn game. This senile bastard said himself yesterday that millions of lives are dependent on us and he's just making us go out with nothing but money, no goddamn training or anything. Bakugou yells at Ren, who just sighs and shakes his head. The king however was starting to lose his patience again with Bakugou. This is how you heroes are supposed to get better. Just giving you everything won't help any of you, especially if you don't have the stats for the equipment and weapons yet. And I have a nation to run still, so I can't just lend all of you the entire treasury to spend on stuff you can obtain by your own skills. And besides, the legends state that the cardinal heroes that are brought here will already have a general knowledge of our world, so there's no need to teach you anything unless you're really that clueless, Sir Bakugou. But Bakugou continued to angrily argue with him. You goddamn kidnapped us to be your stupid cardinal heroes. I expected that you would at least train us to fight in this world. But I see you're just a damn hack wearing a tiara. Quiet. The king yells, having about enough of Bakugou as he slams his fists on the throne chair. The court was silent for a few seconds until the king calmed himself down after some deep breaths. Shield hero Bakugou, I'm already giving you free money to be able to buy anything in our world. I've spent all night and morning getting champions for you, one of whom you immediately rejected when she offered her help, and I allowed you the luxury to sleep at my castle for no charge. If you do not appreciate what I'm doing for you, I will be glad to take back my 800 silver. So, unless you want to start as a beggar on the street, it will be wise of you to stop talking and just start your damn adventure already. Am I clear? Bakugou could have continued to argue with how stupidly the king is preparing the heroes for this world, but he can see that the king was at his final straw to take away his money for real, so he decided to stop. Alright, fine. I just want out of this inbred cesspool already. The king was relieved. Good. Now again set forth, and good luck to all of you heroes. Sir. The three other heroes shouted again, with Bakugou still silent. The four heroes finally left the castle as they go on their adventure, with Ren, Itsuki, and Motoyasu leaving with their parties. Bakugou was by himself, just him with his shield, and he was happy that way. Bakugou figures the first thing he should do is to dress more appropriately in this world. His black tee and blue jeans make him stick out among the regular peasants, and he knew he required some form of armor to survive this world of monsters, since the idiot king has refused to give him any. After some window shopping through town, looking through a few armor and weapon shops, as well as reading some of the help instructions his status magic provides, he found the largest one and went in it. The store was filled with many different types of weapons and armor hanging above the shelves and walls like any store. And at the end of the shop was its owner. A middle-aged bald man giving a welcoming smile. Welcome, good sir, first time to a weapon shop, I see. He gleefully welcomes Bakugou. Yeah, whatever, I'm just looking around, Bakugou responds as he looks across the shop for any weapon he can use to compensate for his shield, as well as any armor. If you need of anything specific, I can show it to you, the shopkeeper says. Bakugou looks directly at the shopkeeper. Okay, show me the best weapons you have. Or at least anything under 600 silver, he demanded. The blacksmith then came out of his shopkeeper area, eager. Alright then, let me show you some of the best we have for your budget. He then showed Bakugou a table, with multiple different types of swords on it. Here we are, some of my best cheap swords made up of iron, steel, magic steel, etc. An excited Bakugou decided to pick the iron sword up. Hell yes, now time to But the sword electrocutes Bakugou, forcing him to drop it, confusing him and the blacksmith. What the hell was that? Are these damn things cursed? He yells at the blacksmith. No, these swords are not cursed, booby-trapped, or anything. The blacksmith defended himself. He quickly picks up the dropped sword and swings it around to prove it. See, perfectly fine. Bakugou picks up one of the other weapons, but it shocked him again as the other sword did before. Damn it. What the hell is going? Huh? Bakugou then noticed that his status screen was popping up, glowing red with a caution sign on display, and it reads, Caution, rule violation, item restricted. What the hell does this mean? Bakugou shouted, and then the menu quickly changes to a new screen that reads Help. Bakugou hasn't read this one yet and goes on to read the text below it. When a hero is set up with their class cardinal weapon, they are not allowed to use any other weapons. So a spear hero can't equip a sword, nor can a bow hero use a shield. What kind of bullcrap is this? Bakugou yells at the magic screen. I guess it means you can't use anything else but a shield because of your class. So sorry. The blacksmith says to him. Well, then where the hell can I change my class to something that isn't stupid? Bakugou says out loud as he scrolls through other help texts to see if he can fix this problem, but he had no luck. It's usually as simple as using a different default weapon, but I'm not sure what to do with you if you can't even do that. The smith answered, not knowing what this was all about. Bakugou continues to read over some more help texts for anything to change his class, but when he found nothing else he had enough of it. GGGGRRRRR. You know what, to hell with the damn rule, I'll just tolerate the pain. Bakugou yells, then grabbed hold of the steel sword and it shocks him like the ones before, but Bakugou was determined to keep the sword and grips on it as hard as he can as the electricity continues to course over Bakugou's body, giving him great pain. Sir, please, I think you need to stop. The smith warns Bakugou, but he continued to hold on to the sword, as it continues to electrocute him to force him to let go. But it becomes harder and harder for Bakugou to hold on to the sword as the electricity gets more and more intense the longer he holds the swords. Damn it. I can do this. Bakugou grits in pain, trying his best to hold on, but even with his pain tolerance he still had his limits, and it was getting harder and harder for him to hold on. The sparks continued until Bakugou couldn't take it anymore and had no choice but to drop the weapon and fell to the ground on his knees and breathed heavily. The smith attempted to help him out by reaching his hand out to him. Sir, are you alright? But Bakugou just swipes his hand away from him. Yes, I'm goddamn fine, don't try to pity me. Bakugou yells as he struggles himself back up. But as he was getting up, the smith gets a closer look at the shield and was curious about it. He uses his magic magnifying glass to get a better look at it, which Bakugou noticed. What the hell are you doing? I'm just getting a better look at your weapon. It's nothing I've ever seen before. It looks a little like... Wait a second? Are you one of those heroes that got summoned? He asked Bakugou. Yeah, so, what? Bakugou asked shrewdly, thinking it was going to be another insult. Well, it could explain why you can't change your class. It seems this cardinal shield can't just come off. I can rip it off and throw the damn thing, but it just reforms back and sticks into its place again like a damn leech. Bakugou answers. I can sense great power coming from the shield, but my appraisal magic doesn't detect much else, so I don't know what to do about it. Bakugou was pissed off by all of this and the shield's rules, but his tone changed when he face palms and looks back at the palm of his hand and remembers he still has a quirk, and a very powerful one at that. His frown immediately turned back into a smile. Forget the damn weapons, I don't need those damn things anyway. I can handle myself without them. The smith finally stops looking at the shield and got himself up. Well, if you say so. But do you still want to buy some armor? He asked. Bakugou immediately answers, yes, but make sure it's an armor that doesn't cover the arms. The request confused the smith. Why do you not want to protect your arms? I have my reasons, just show me the merchandise already. If you say so, sir hero, the smith says as he shows off his armor merchandise. About a half an hour passes as Bakugou looks at and wears various suits of armor and clothing. He was very picky about what he wanted to wear. He wanted armor that exposed his arms for his quirk, but he also doesn't want anything too heavy either to restrict his movement. He also wanted something that was intimidating looking, so when he fights bad guys and monsters they would be scared of just looking at him, just as his old hero costume was designed to do before. Bakugou tries out another outfit to wear as the smith patiently waits for him to finish after trying out the 15th suit already in the change room. Man, this kid really wants the right armor, doesn't he? Haven't seen anyone this picky since. But the smith stops when he hears, yes, perfect, and out quickly comes Bakugou in his new outfit, though it may hardly look like armor at first glance, but it was the real deal. He appeared shirtless, exposing his muscular torso, but has a dark red cape on with a fluffy and furry white top around his neck, had dark black trousers with a golden buckle black belt on, and had light silver boots with small fluffy tops on matching his cape's fluffy top. The smith was impressed. Whoa. Now that barbarian armor matches you perfectly. I wouldn't say that is what regular adventurers usually wear, but as long as it will protect you in any battle, that's all that matters. Bakugou continues to look at himself. Now you said yourself that despite that I look like I have nothing on my chest, I'm still protected if something attacks me there, right? He asked the smith. Of course, your cape acts as sort of an invisible chest plate that protects your entire torso despite it looking like you're not wearing anything there. The smith answers. Bakugou looks toward the smith. Mind testing it? Of course. The smith grabs a sword and swipes at Bakugou's torso with it bouncing off him and showing no mark on him, proving the cape's magic does work. I told you so. It may not be the strongest armor, but it will allow you to move quickly around as you requested, as well as protecting you from various environmental hazards like ice, sand, fire, and poison. Perfect. I'll buy it, Bakugou says excitedly. The smith then heads to his counter awaiting Bakugou's purchase. Alright then, so your special-made armor with a nice hero discount will cost you about 300 silver. 300 is a bit much. How about you make it 250 silver and I'll be a permanent customer to your shop for armor. Bakugou bargains with the smith, wanting to haggle the man for a cheaper price. The smith understood his games and played along. I don't think so. That armor's magic isn't cheap or easy to make, and the man-hours should be compensated for it. For being unappreciated of a man's hard work, I'm increasing the price by 10%. The smith haggles back at Bakugou. 250, Bakugou says back, increasing to 20%. 250 increased by 40%. 250 50% increase. 250 75% increase. 250 90%. 250 okay then, smart ass, the price just doubled to 600 silver. 250 triple. 250 quadruple. 250. The smith knew at this point he wasn't going anywhere and decided to concede. Alright, how about 275 silver for the armor? But no more if you really promise me that I will for now on be the main provider of any new armor. Deal? The smith bargained. Sounds good. 275 it is. Bakugou agrees and pays the smith 275 silver for his armor. But after paying, Bakugou wasn't done yet. Hey, I'm also wondering, what was that little magnifying glass you had earlier? Is that anything special? Oh, this thing. Yeah, it helps me to get a closer look at armors and weapons, looking for flaws, and can even look through magic and other means of concealment for those that try to rip me off. The smith answers, sparking Bakugou's curiosity. You got any spares? He asked. Yeah, I got plenty. But if you're interested in getting one, you have to pay for it. The smith tells him. How much? Bakugou asked. 25 silver, and I'm not going any lower than that. The smith bargains. Bakugou understood he had played his haggle card and knew it wouldn't work on this guy twice, so he pays the amount for the magic magnifying glass. Once in his possession of it, Bakugou puts the glass on his shield's gem as it dissolves inside it. The shield opens up a screen that shows skill unlocked, magnifying shield. The smith was impressed. What that is? Some interesting magic that shield has. How did you know it can do it? He asked Bakugou. I've read it over from some of the help screens while I was window shopping. They told me of the mechanics of how this stupid shield works, and this was the first test of it. I guess you didn't read enough of them that told you about not being allowed to use other weapons. The smith jokes, making Bakugou growl in frustration. Whatever, tell me, Baldy, where are the other shops that I can buy useful items at? Maybe a place where I do some minor quests as well? He asked him. There is a marketplace down the street with many stores surrounding it. As for minor quests, I don't have any myself, but I think just asking people if they need any help may get you some around town if you don't want to do anything big right now. The smith answers. Bakugou turns and immediately leaves the shop. Come again soon. The smith finally says to him. Bakugou was out of the shop and heads toward the marketplace. Alright then, since this idiot king refuses to train me or tell me anything, I'm going to have to find it all out the old way, the RPG way. Bakugou had spent most of the day traveling shop to shop and talking to person to person asking what they were selling and how useful they were for adventuring. This ranges from simple food to health potions, magic trinkets, armor enchantments, etc. And of course, Bakugou tried to haggle with all of them with varying degrees of success. He would also ask them about some quick quests or minor help they might need, and a few did need some help. Most were simple things, like transporting items, escorting some people, quick fetch quests, opening jam doors, etc., where he would have to just travel around the town doing various favors for people. Most were easy to do and the reward was usually only a couple of bronze coins or a few silvers at most. Though money was a secondary factor in doing all of this, what he valued more was learning new information and gaining new skills. With the other heroes, after they got their equipment, they all quickly went outside the city to immediately grind for monsters and level up. But Bakugou was smarter and more genre savvy than that. He hasn't played many video games since he started training for you. But he had played his share of RPGs before, and from what he knew when playing them, it was always wise to talk to all the NPCs if possible before going out for combat or to rush forward with the story. One needs to do all of the quests, no matter how minor, to help you find new skills and to learn more about the world. The other three heroes' methods might work on easy difficulty settings if it was a game, but on harder settings, it could mean life or death from getting slaughtered by enemies, especially as time goes on. Bakugou, being a completionist type and always likes to play on the hardest difficulties, knew better, and he did do everything to beat those impossible difficulties, willing to do the tedious work just to build up his character better. It was also not just for leveling up and trying to help his adventure skills, but also to better his interaction with people. After blowing his provisional license exam in his old world, Bakugou is trying his best to be better with his attitude toward regular people, to not angrily outburst at the people he is supposed to be helping. He would continue to hold his ever-present frustrated face when dealing with people, but at least he doesn't explode on them for saying stupid things. Or at least 80% of the time anyway. There were 4 times where he exploded at some asshole shopkeepers, and people threatened to call the guards from all the yelling and death threats. So Bakugou knew he had a lot more to go to be a better hero. Most people hardly had any interesting or useful skills to teach, but he had learned some practical ones like lock-picking, stealth to eavesdrop on people without them knowing, detecting magical traps, how to craft certain potions, like those for healing and to temporary boost skills, how to properly mount a beast of burden, though he wasn't interested in buying a Philolil or any other riding animals in this world. And from a more shady person pickpocketing, though he secretly reported him to the guards after learning the skill from him. He learned a lot more about the world itself, learned about certain monsters and some of their weaknesses, that dragons are a thing, how crafting magic armor and enchantments work, and some of the more broad laws of the land, especially laws on women. This country was pretty gender liberal compared to real medieval societies back at his world, with women having equal rights to men, with sexual assault especially being a huge no-no. Bakugou had also gained some general knowledge of this world's geographic politics. He is right now on a large continent with dozens and dozens of different kingdoms and republics of various sizes across it, though 4 large empires dominate most of the continent: Melromarc, where he was currently at, Siltvelt, the demi-human empire in the north, Zeltabel, the mercenary empire in the east, and the great empire of Falbli in the west, the largest and most powerful empire in this world. Also in recent years, a new demi-human empire called Shield-Frieden had emerged after a rebellion with Siltvelt. People aren't sure what exactly happened, but most of the people he talked to hardly cared about demi-human politics. Speaking of demi-humans, that was another thing he learned about. This world was populated by intelligent animal-human hybrid people. Some are more human-looking or animal-looking than others, with the more animal-looking referred to as beast-men. They are not treated the best in Melromarc, being seen as second-class citizens at best. Slavery is also a thing in Melromarc, and the majority of demi-humans are slaves, with Bakugou seeing many examples of their treatment by looking and walking around town. Bakugou wasn't surprised to see such barbaric practices in this setting. After being forced to read through human history, he was aware of the horrors of human slavery of various groups of people. He finds the act just disgusting, especially from what he sees the many demi-humans being treated across the city, including little children. Bakugou may have always valued strength, with the strong overcoming the weak, but this kind of power over weak, helpless people regardless of race was something he can't stand. One of his many goals for this world is to somehow end slavery for good and to be their hero that liberated them. Even if he must beat it out of the king to end it, though, beating up the king with any excuse would be good enough for Bakugou. Though one of the strangest places he's been near was the nation's main church. For whatever reason, Bakugou had a really bad feeling about this place. It looked like a typical Christian church that you hardly see in Japan. But when he looked at any of the church folk outside, they always looked at him in disgust or just turned their head on his appearance. He asked some of the shopkeepers and locals about the church, and according to them the church has existed for centuries in Melromarc, though it has been increasing in power in recent years, becoming more involved in the kingdom's politics since about 30 years ago with the support of the king. They are called the Three Heroes Church, where they worship the spear, sword, and bow cardinal heroes as saints or gods and would worship the three equally. Though Bakugou's big question was why the shield cardinal hero himself was left out of the cardinal heroes church. But any time he asked it, no one would answer and sometimes show off a worried face as if they were hiding a horrible truth. Bakugou knew something was up about that church, and he made sure for now to stay as far away from that place as possible and continues on his search for more useful skills and information. One of the last stores he went for the day, as it was becoming evening, was a magic shop run by an older woman who was wearing a standard witch hat. He was there to send a letter from an enchantment shopkeeper for another minor quest and figured that he should also learn about this world's magic while there. Ah, yes. Thank you very much for sending me this. I'm sure you deserve a little reward as well. Here are 5 silvers for your troubles. The shop owner says, with Bakugou continuing looking through the store. Is there anything you're looking for, sir hero? The lady asked. Yeah, I'm aware this crazy world has magic or some crap here and I want to know more about it, he answers. The woman gladly explains to Bakugou of the world's magic and how it works. She taught him what mana, MP was and what kinds of magic exist in this world, from complex battle spells to simple mundane casts that even small children can do. She also mentions that a lot of complex spells require one person to say a chant for the magic to work. Beginners usually have to say it out loud, but more knowledgeable magic users can just say it in their heads and instantly be able to use the spell. For free of charge, she showed Bakugou how to do one spell. A simple artificial light spell that will help him if he was somewhere where there is no light. Now just raise your arm out and say the chant of whatever spell you desire. She tells him, I am the hero of the shield who commands the origin of power. I have read and deciphered a law of nature. I call forth the power of nature of light, and immediately after saying it a magic ball of light comes out of his hand, making Bakugou smile and surprise the woman. Oh my! I would have thought it will take a few tries, but you did it on the first one. You do seem to have some magic talents, her shield hero, she says. Bakugou then clutches his fist. Hell yeah, I'm going to show those losers how things are done in harrowing, he says excitingly. He and the shopkeeper then went up to the store counter for her to use her magic crystal ball to see his magic potential. Sir shield hero, your magic infinities are quite diverse over multiple areas, but you seem to be the strongest at support magic and healing, she says to him, making Bakugou smirk. I knew I would be best in everything, he says pridefully. Though the woman wasn't finished yet, well, just a moment, your combat magic is almost non-existent, so you can't do any offensive spells. This frustrated Bakugou. Grrrr. Damn the rules of this world. You mean I can't even shoot out lightning or anything? He yelled at the older woman. I'm afraid not, but don't let that discourage you to not learn magic. Even if you can't use them to fight monsters, many spells you can learn can be of great help too. Don't underestimate support spells, they could save your life in the right circumstances, she says, trying to cheer Bakugou up. Bakugou couldn't deny that she had a point, though begrudgingly admits it. Sure, I guess it's better than nothing. Say lady, what else can those magic balls do? He asked the storekeeper. They can help you with multiple things. It allows you to sense and detect magical objects, gives you a small boost to your mana pool, and it can allow you to capture life events around you and can show them off later to others. She explains it sparked Bakugou's curiosity. So it's like a magic video camera? What is that, Sir Shield Hero? She asked. Forget it, do you have anything that can help me learn more about magic? He asked her. Well, I do have this magic grimoire that can teach you many different spells. It's perfect for any beginning mage, she offers. Bakugou picked up the book to read its contents, but as he turns the pages over he realizes that it's in a completely different language. This world seems to speak Japanese. Yes, let's just pretend that everyone is speaking Japanese in this context, but their writing was something completely different. Great, I can't even understand anything in here. What good is this to me? He complains and throws the book back on the counter. You may not be able to read our language now, but if you can learn magic as quickly as you did, then perhaps you can learn to read our language just as quickly as well. There are so many spells in here, it would be unwise to just ignore them, the woman says. Bakugou understood her point. He will probably have to learn or gain the ability to learn this world language eventually, so it would be nice to have a reference book to practice magic with and learn many of this world's spells. Of course, the crystal ball also has its use too and would be an immediate benefit to him. How much are the book and the crystal ball? He asked the shopkeeper. They both cost 100 silver pieces, but if you buy both items now you will get a small discount on one of them, so it will only cost 175 silver pieces altogether, she explains. Bakugou was starting to run low on his disposable income, only 300 silver pieces left, and he wanted to at least have 100 left, so if he buys this stuff now it will be the last thing he will buy for the day other than food and a place to rest for the night. It would have been just 200 silver he had left, but due to all the minor tasks he did in town today he gained an extra 100 silver from all of it. Bakugou thought it through a bit, but he knew he probably wouldn't get a better deal on items this useful this early, so he finally agreed. Okay, which you got me, I'll buy both. Bakugou pays the woman 175 silver and inserts his ball and the book into his shield gem, gaining the crystal ball shield, which gave a passive 3% increase to his mana, and the magic grimoire shield that he can read from for now on. He turns back at the woman to ask her something. Say lady, do you know much about the king? He asked, figuring he should finally learn more about the man he's forced to work for. Anyway, she willingly tells Bakugou what she knew. Oh, King Alt-Cray. Yes, he is a very interesting man. He may not look like it, but he used to be a hero himself, though not a cardinal hero obviously, but he was quite famous in our country, so much so he won the heart of our beloved queen. The last part caught Bakugou's attention. Hang on a second? Won the heart of the queen? You mean he wasn't royalty from the start? Well, I've heard he originally came from a noble bloodline from fall&rise, but wasn't of Melromarc until he came to our country in his adventuring days. He was quite the famous hero, and he would eventually win the heart of the queen when she was just a princess and became her consort when she was coronated. She continued. Bakugou just laughs at that. Ha, so the old bastard isn't even the real one running this joint? That's too hilarious. So where is this old queen at anyway? He asked. The queen left the country a few months ago to visit the neighboring empires, and she hasn't come back since. What is she doing that is so important to leave the nation that long? He asked. I honestly don't know. I don't keep track of the kingdom's politics, so I'm sorry for not telling you more. She finishes. Don't worry, I've learned more than enough I need. If I need any more magic stuff I'll come visit again, but make sure you get better stuff later on. Which? He finishes and proceeds to leave the shop, though he was still confused by the queen stuff. If she is the real head of state, why has she left when he and the others were summoned? He figured that she would have been the one to meet the heroes first and had her idiot husband go out to do the less important diplomacy work, but at least he knew more about the country and had more to use to insult the king. "Thank you very much, Sir Shield Hero, have a good time," the shopkeeper says as Bakugou leaves. The sun was starting to set on Melromarc, while usually this is a time for heroes to go back to civilization to rest for the day after grinding monsters. Bakugou saw it as his time to get some experience for himself and not have to worry about competition. And by this time all the outside shops were closing anyway, and he had already visited almost every inside store in the area, so there was no more business with them. But as he was walking out of the town's border wall, he sees Ren, Itsuki, and Motoyasu's parties coming back from their day of grinding, and they notice Bakugou as well. "Look who is finally coming out." Ren comments Itsuki was disgusted by Bakugou's armor. Could he make himself look any more like he is going to beat someone up? He's not even wearing a shirt. Though the three were pretty surprised to how muscular he was, it made them look like twigs in comparison if they were out of their armor. It somewhat made them envious of such a body, especially since he's the youngest of them. When Motoyasu's group got close to Bakugou, he saw to himself to mock him again as they walk. "Well, now look who it is, Mr. Edgelord, finally getting the guts to come out after being afraid of the monsters for so long with his useless shield. Oh, how is he going to survive the dreaded balloons?" Bakugou didn't say anything at first, but as he was right beside Motoyasu, he quickly sticks his foot out and made Motoyasu trip, and he fell on his face. "Ow. Damn it. You should watch where you're going, nerd. You might end up breaking what's left of your face." Bakugou mocks back as he walks away from the groups. Ren and Itsuki just roll their eyes as Motoyasu gets himself up with a bruised forehead and just walks away, trying so hard to not kill Bakugou. Once out in the open fields, Bakugou looks around and observes all of his surroundings. While he was focused on trying to find monsters, he gave himself a good look at the area. Having lived at Mujudafu City for most of his life, he hardly got to see much vast grassland landscapes like this, having only been to parks and visiting the woods when he was a kid that hardly had any grass to begin with. It was somewhat majestic for him to see, especially with the sunset. But he had enough of sightseeing and got back to find whatever was out there and gain experience points. And he wouldn't need to look far as he looks through the grass and sees the first monsters for him to attack. Evil-looking living balloons jumping up at Bakugou to attack him. Bakugou grins and starts punching the balloons. "Die, you air-filled bastards! Die!" and goes on punching the various balloons. He punches them and punches them over and over. Bakugou was excited at first to finally kill something, but as he goes on punching the balloons, he was growing tired seeing the monsters still alive despite how many times he punches them, still with a large amount of HP according to his status magic. "Why won't you stupid bastards die?" He continues punching multiple balloons over and over, until he had enough and just grabs hold of one that had full health. "How many punches do you need to kill these stupid things?" He proceeds to punch the one over and over again until after many hits the balloon's health drops to 0 and dies. 30 damn hits just to kill fodder? Screw this damn shield class and the 1-point attack power. He yells at his shield arm, but as he looks back at his hand and quickly remembers that he still had his quirk and created a small explosion to see if it still works. It may have been unusual for him to forget his quirk like that. But he was originally so excited in wanting to kill things without consequence in a RPG-like setting. His quirk that really sticks out in a setting like this had temporarily slipped his mind. He quickly gained his confidence again and grins at the number of balloons attacking him. "Let's see how much you little bastards can take now." And when one jumps toward him, Bakugou grabs hold of it with one hand as it struggles to get off Bakugou. He sadistically smiles and then shouts, "Die!" And with his quirk, he instantly blows up the balloon with his hand and still gained the experience points for it. Hell yeah! Now it's time to show off the true power of the shield hero. He looks and sees more balloon monsters coming his way. And every balloon that got close to him ended up instantly blow up as Bakugou goes on a killing spree with the monsters. He no longer had to hold back on killing villains, so he can now kill what he sees and blows up small monster after small monster. The loud explosions continued to attract more balloon monsters, and Bakugou proceeds to kill more and more of the little things, slowing but surely leveling up Come on and get me, you little bastards, see what a real hero is made of. Boom boom boom. After a few hours of blowing up balloon monsters, Bakugou had enough for the night. It was 10 p.m. and it was completely dark other than the moonlight and Bakugou's light spell. He knew he had to eventually rest or his performance will start to suffer by morning. So he collects the remains of the last of the balloons he's killed to sell later with a bag he bought early to stuff in items that won't go into the shield storage like his old world clothes. He killed several hundred balloons from just those few hours, as well as killing a couple of other minor monsters like giant mites, giant grasshoppers, and giant ants that were the size of dogs. And gained a few new powers by putting in their remains in the shield. He has also leveled up to 5 from just his first day. All of his stats had all increased to some degree, all except for his attack power that was still at 1. Bakugou wasn't sure how it doesn't apply to his quirks, since it can make quick work on at least the low-level monsters compared to just punching them or bashing them with the shield. His only guess is that the game world never took account of his quirk and is basically a bug outside the system, which he didn't care, as he was going to be exploiting it as much as possible. Bakugou for the first time used his own fast travel that instantly took him back to the outside of the blacksmith's shop in town that was closed for the night. He learned to fast travel after reading some of the help instructions and discovered the map shield after putting in a map of the known world he bought earlier in the shield. He played many RPGs before that had fast travel, and so he knew that this world would have had at least some equivalent of it. The instructions state that he can travel to locations that he has been to before unless there are monsters close by or is indoors. It will also bring along companions who haven't been to the places already but the hero has. But it won't work for escort quests where the ones being escorted have to be manually escorted to their locations. Also, according to the help text that Bakugou read, there are other ways of fast travel. One other method is with the sand of the dragon hourglasses. But the only place where this hourglass sand was at is the Three Heroes Church, where Bakugou wants to stay as far away from it as much as possible. So he just found his own way of fast travel. Bakugou then goes to stop by at the cheapest inn he can find and eat the cheapest meal for his dinner. The food was hardly much to brag about, but Bakugou knew better than to waste his money on overly expensive meals and overpriced beds like the other heroes have, and knew he had to conserve as much money as possible to buy actual important stuff to become this world's best hero. He'll be able to buy whatever luxury he wants once he has the money and income to do so. He finally finishes eating and goes up to his room. Too tired to even take off his armor and bags, he lays on the bed and falls asleep quickly, ready for day 3 of his quest to be the greatest hero of this world. Shield, hero, open up. A voice outside the door shouted, who was also banging on said door. Bakugou was woken by the noise, still tired from that long day yesterday, and was not happy being woken up from his nap. He stomps toward the door and slams it open. What the hell do you idiots want? Don't you see I'm trying to sleep here? He yells at the person at the door, who turns out to be a knight along with a dozen other ones surrounding the hallway of the inn. Sir Shield Hero, the king has ordered a summons for you, boy. You are to come with us. The knight ordered. Bakugou didn't know what was going on, but he didn't like it at all. For what reason? Bakugou demanded from them. You'll find out once you get there. Now let's move. The knight ordered. But Bakugou continued to argue. Not until you goddamn tell me why that inbred hack wants from me. Another guard had enough of him and attempts to grab his arm. That is an order, hero. Stop this crap right. But Bakugou quickly slaps the hand away. Get your damn hands off me. The guard attempts to grab him again. I told you it's an order. I said get your damn hands off me. Bakugou punches the knight right in the face. After that, the other guards in the hallway all attempt to restrain Bakugou, but the young hero wasn't going out without a fight, and as the guards attempt to hold him down, Bakugou dodges, punches and kicks all the guards that attempt to grab him. Bakugou was a fierce fighter and continued to fight against the multiple guards that were higher levels than him and had better equipment. He was also doing his best to not use his quirk to keep that as a secret, and that blasting his quirk at a small hallway inside a populated inn like this could mean endangering the regular people resting here, including children. Bakugou continued his fight with a dozen guards in the hallway until all of them grouped up and began grabbing onto Bakugou and finally forced him on the floor. "You bastards! Get off of me or I am going to kill all of you! Get off!" Bakugou yells, but the Knight Commander had enough of it. "Tie this animal up and send him to the castle as soon as possible." Bakugou knew something was up, and he also knew it was going to get ugly fast. At the throne room, the three heroes along with Motoyasu's terrified redhead female partner and the king, who all looked angry as they wait for the shield hero to be brought over to get him to finally talk. The throne door finally opens, revealing Bakugou, who was covered up in steel chains with a dozen guards surrounding him with two other knights holding on to the chain ends to restrain him. "Let me go, you tin-covered bastards. I'll blast off all of your damn armor off and collectively kick your asses." Ren was surprised to see him in this state. "You have him in chains?" The shield hero refused to cooperate and had to be dragged here by force. "We originally used rope, but he chewed through that, so we had to resort to steel chains." The Knight Commander answered him with Ren just shaking his head in disgust. Despite his struggling, Bakugou was finally dragged to the middle of the throne room. "What the hell do you want from me, you inbred bastard? Shut the hell up for once, you ungrateful brat." The king yells at him, finally having enough of Bakugou. He then looks toward the girl in a calmer tone. "Malty, I hate to ask you again, but can you give us your testimony again?" "Testimony for what?" Bakugou thought to himself. He still had so many questions but was getting an idea of where this was going. The crying girl finally spoke up. Yes, it was early this morning at about 4 a.m. I wanted to get something from the market early and get a surprise gift to Motoyasu. But while I was walking toward the market, the shield devil came right out of an alleyway. He grabbed hold of me and dragged me into that very dirty alley. He said how sexy I was, and he always likes it rough. He was touching me across my body and he was even kissing me. What kind of bullshit are you trying to say?" Bakugou yells, knowing this whole thing was nothing but lies. "Silent, shield devil," the king ordered, with Malty continuing. He then began to take all of my clothes off and said, "You're all mine now, beach," and was about to pull down his pants. But thankfully, with all my strength, I was able to kick that bastard off me and run back to my inn and got to Motoyasu as soon as possible and told him everything. Had mine not told me to wait until dawn to call the guards, I would have cut you down myself, Motoyasu spoke up. Everyone in the throne room looked horrified and disgusted by Malty's story that a hero would resort to rape. The king then spoke up again. "To think the cardinal shield hero would commit one of the country's greatest sins. Even attempt rape is a crime punishable by death. The advisor says, if you weren't a cardinal hero, you would be executed at once." The king yells at Bakugou. But Bakugou wasn't going to let this slander to continue on. "Then show me the goddamn proof that any of her garbage is even remotely true." One of the knights then brought something up. "We found this at the scene of the crime," and the knight showed off a torn-up bra that originally belonged to Malty. Malty looked scared and cried behind Motoyasu, "You animal." He yells at Bakugou, standing in front of mine, fully committed to thinking Bakugou attempted to rape her. Itsuki spoke his mind. "What a terrible shame. I knew something wasn't right about Bakugou, but I wouldn't have thought he would be this bad. He thought being a hero meant that he could do whatever he wants." Disgusting, Ren also comments. Motoyasu then raises his spear along with his voice. "This place isn't some consequence-free playground, you evil bastard." Bakugou was largely silent through most of it, but he heard enough. "Are you idiots really that stupid?" Everyone wondered what the shield hero was even talking about. The king spoke up again. "What nonsense are you going to babble on this time, shield devil?" Bakugou quickly makes his case. "Do any of you think that one testimony and some cut-up bra is enough to prove me of this crime?" And none of you even thought of the lack of witnesses was suspicious or see through some of the holes in the cheap testimony. Like what? The king asked. Like how she claims I was able to capture her, in the first place? I don't even have any attack power as a shield class, so how would I even be able to grab her by force in the first place? Of course Bakugou did have the means by his explosion quirk, but no one else knew about that, so as far as they knew he was just a useless shielder with no attack power. The king or the other heroes weren't impressed, clearly as shown by Motoyasu's nose that pure attack power alone doesn't prevent harm to other opponents, so you still could have easily raped my daughter if you got away with it. Daughter. So the beach is some spoiled princess appealing to daddy, just as I expected. Bakugou thinks to himself, seeing the nepotism coming out of this trial. But he wasn't done yet. Then how about other holes? Like, explain to me why this slot was out that early, in the morning. She already explained, she was going to get a present for me, Motoyasu says. Really? Then explain what the hell kind of store would be opened that early in the morning. She would have no means of getting a gift if she wasn't lying. Despite it being a good point that even some of the nobles there were discussing it, the king, Motoyasu, and Itsuki weren't interested in what he had to say and were too biased in their hatred of Bakugou to understand reason. All but Ren, who did understand Bakugou. That is right, from most the stores I've looked at, they weren't open until 6 o'clock a.m. so what was Malty even doing out there that early? He thought to himself. The king just shook his head. I don't see how that is relevant. But despite the king's stubbornness, Bakugou continues, then how about the fact that despite the torn-up bra she hardly looks like she has been through any kind of struggle, the fact I have no visible injury from her so-called escape, the fact that I somehow have a desire for her despite me rejecting her as a partner yesterday morning, or how about the fact that she waited until dawn to get me arrested? Why the hell would a victim of attempted rape wait until morning to call the guards to arrest me? Explain all of that? But just as before, despite those valid points, the king and the two heroes refused to listen and wouldn't answer him. But Ren did listen and knew that those were all good points that should be addressed, but saw that the king wasn't pressing things further as an unbiased judge should do. The king spoke, I think I heard enough out of you. Your points are all irrelevant to this attempted rape and nothing more than mad ramblings. I think this trial is already over. Hold on a second, sir. Ren finally spoke out. Do you have something to say, Sir Ren? The king asked. Ren then spoke, yes. Don't you think it's too early to end the trial? What are you saying, Sword Hero? The king asked. Those are not irrelevant points, they do bring up holes in Malty's testimony. Don't you think we should at least allow Bakugou to say his side of the story first to clear things up? Itsuki was quite disgusted by what Ren said. You're not seriously trying to defend this bastard, are you? Just look at him. Itsuki points to Bakugou, who still looked angry as ever, though he did calm down a bit when he sees Ren trying to defend him. Ren quickly reacts to that comment, no, I'm just saying that there is clearly more to this story than we are looking at through one perspective. For all we know, this could have been just some sort of messed up misunderstanding. The king just shook his head. Sir Sword Hero, are you committing yourself to defend the shield hero? Because if you do, you should be warned that by doing so you will be counted as an associate to the crime and you will suffer the same consequences of the accused if found guilty. This fact shocked Ren, making him stay silent as he was now unsure of himself. Bakugou couldn't believe what he just heard. What kind of brain-dead legal system are you running here? You're more of an incompetent ass than I thought. You goddamn be quiet. The king yells at Bakugou and turns back to Ren. So sir, Sword Hero, are you going to be on the defense of the accused? Ren's mind was completely conflicted. He can bluntly see how unfair this trial has been. The king was being completely biased against Bakugou and was too consumed by his hatred of him to see reason and the holes in Malty's testimony. Motoyasu and Itsuki were just as uncooperative, who were both already looking at him angrily for even trying to defend Bakugou. He wanted to genuinely help, but he knew with such an unfair trial he would be found guilty himself anyway and would have had his name be dragged into the mud along with Bakugou's. All to help a guy he never liked to begin with. After a minute of silence and thinking, Ren finally made up his decision. "No, I'm sorry Bakugou. You spineless cowardly bastard. I hope you rot in hell with the rest of these incompetent idiots." Bakugou yells, now seeing everyone was against him. Ren could only look down in shame, and as he continues his yelling, Bakugou noticed the victim Malty behind Motoyasu. Despite all her crying, she was finally showing her true nature, mocking Bakugou by making a childish face at him with her tongue out and her eyelid down. Bakugou thought to himself, "I knew she was a bitch from the very start, but I didn't think she would have done all of this to spite me. She took advantage of everyone's hate and to make a fool out of me. She is no better than a villain in my world. No, she is a villain, the worst kind of villain, the one that hides under a mask of lies to think herself as a victim. I hate her." Bakugou finally outbursted out loud, "I'm going to kill you. You evil rotten bitch." Multi-cowards behind Motoyasu still pretending to be the victim, "You are not going to lay a finger on her. She's under my protection, and if you try anything monster then I will not hesitate to kill you." Motoyasu threats while holding on to Malty. "Is that a fact? Why not try me now?" Bakugou yells and was about to use his quirk to blast out of the chains and start attacking everyone in the court and beat up Motoyasu, the king, and the bitch into bloody pulps. But as he was about to explode, he looks around at the crowd as well as some of the knights. They all looked scared and unsure of what to expect. From their point of view, they saw him as the villain, and if he started attacking the whole court it would just confirm their beliefs of him and he wouldn't be any better to the people the heroes fought in his world. He finally stopped himself and calmed down a little. The nobles that were watching were all pretty conflicted. Some saw the shield hero as nothing more than a devil, others saw some of his points and thought the trial sounded fishy, but their opinions were irrelevant when it came to the king's decision. "I would just throw you in jail and let you rot, but with the waves incoming we can't afford to hold back our heroes. But the word is already spreading of your crimes, shield devil. Everyone will know of what you did. You'll never be able to live a decent life in this country. That is your punishment." But Bakugou had enough of this sham of a trial. "Go ahead. Slander me as much as you want. I don't care what the hell you say to me or what you tell the people. I will prove to them myself who is a real hero out here in this dump of a world. And I especially don't give any damns about the insults of a consort." The last part actually shocked the king for him to know about that. "What the hell are you talking about?" The king demanded. "I know how things really work around here. You're not goddamn royalty. You married your way into that chair. Your wife is the one running the show. You're just pretending to be a king." The king started to get extremely angry by this. "You shut up about my wife. She has nothing to do with this. It has every goddamn thing to do with it. She is the one actually in charge here. She's the one who rules this country. And only her word should matter to me. You're nothing more than goddamn breeding stock. Enough." The king finally had it with him as he slams his fists on the arms of his throne and finally stood up and pointed his fingers toward the doors. "Throw this monster out now. Get him out of my sight." And with that order the guards pulled on his chains and drags him despite his resistance. "I'll show you. I'll show all of you. I will be the best hero in all of Melromarc and I'll beat up all of you liars. You will see. You will see." He continues to yell until he was dragged out of the throne room with the door shutting. The nobles continue to gossip with one another over the trial. However, the king, Motoyasu, and Itsuki were all satisfied that supposed justice had finally prevailed. All but Ren. Despite his silence, he felt completely ashamed. Despite all of his loud and ungrateful nature, Bakugou was still a victim to an unfair trial and he knew it. But he didn't even have the guts to protect him, and allowed the king to just steamroll Bakugou. He thinks to himself, "If I can't even stand up to someone who needed my help, could I even call myself a hero at all?" Bakugou was finally thrown out of the castle by the guards and had to unravel the chains by himself. He stomps out toward the nearest gate out of town. He didn't want to be near anyone right now who were all horrified to look at him. The king did seem to be right about rumors spreading quickly about what the shield hero did. But Bakugou didn't care what they think of him now. He was going to show all of them who is the best hero in the world regardless of all of that. Even the people he helped yesterday were reluctant to talk to him. They were in the same boat as Ren. They were afraid of ridicule if they tried to help the supposed rapist regardless of how things were in reality. He also had a quick encounter with the weapons merchant who was waiting to beat him up. "Hey you. I heard what you did to that girl. You think someone like you can just get away with it?" And attempts to punch Bakugou. Only for Bakugou to easily grabbed his fist and gave him an angry look at him. "I'm not the villain here. You know that." And, after that, he gets a quick look in his eyes. The blacksmith now knew that Bakugou was being genuine and backs down. "I can't believe I'm saying this, but I sort of believe you. I may regret saying this, but you're still welcome to shop if you need anything," the smith says as he walks back to his shop with Bakugou continuing to walk his way toward out of the capital. He finally makes his way to the fields. He was so consumed by anger and hate he doesn't even care that a bunch of balloon monsters was biting on his body. Due to his high defense he wasn't suffering from any pain or damage anyway. So much was clouding Bakugou's thoughts right now, not just over here in this world but over stuff back in his old world as well. What the hell is wrong with these idiots? They judge me before truly knowing me. It's all the same in Japan and everyone gets one good look at me and see a few moments of me yelling and they assume I'm some evil person. Entire agencies didn't want anything to do with me after the sports festival. Children mock me on patrol duty, and even the League of Villains thought they had a chance to make me join them. And everyone here in Melromarc, people blindly listen to that beach over a stupid rape accusation just because they don't like me, and those that aren't blind are so full of their own petty egos to even lift a finger. Those bastards. Bakugou finally rips off one of the living balloons off his body and looks at it as it tries to bite him until he finally shouts, "Damn them all!" and immediately blows up the balloon monster into pieces. He quickly starts to blow up all the monsters on him, killing every single one in an instant. The sound of the explosion attracted more balloon monsters as dozens of them started to gather up around Bakugou, but he didn't care. He hardly cared about anything anymore. He was so consumed by anger he threw all he had on the balloons, no longer holding back as he blasts them away like nothing as more and more gather around him by the sound. "I'll show them. I'll show them all who the shield hero really is." His explosions got bigger and bigger as his anger grows out of control, not caring how many balloons he was attracting when dozens upon dozens of them were all coming toward him, until Bakugou had one more outburst and blew a big explosion that killed the grass around him as well as most of the balloons. He breathes heavily in deep anger, finding this world disgusting. But as he looks for more balloons to blow up, he heard some cracking in the ground and wondered what was going on until about 20 feet away he saw something giant pop up from the ground. It was a giant balloon monster that was over 9 feet tall with a large mouth with multiple smaller balloons in its mouth being woken up from Bakugou's loud explosions. According to his status magic, it was labeled as a balloon queen and it was a level 15 monster. Other beginner warriors would be terrified by such a beast, but Bakugou wasn't remotely afraid. It just made him angrier. Is this some joke universe, god or gods, or whatever? Are you testing me, or are you making fun of me? Either way, bring on as much as possible. He quickly engages the queen as it jumps toward Bakugou, intending it or its babies to eat Bakugou. But as the balloon attempts to bite or jump on Bakugou, he continues to dodge the beast, still with his head in the game as he blasts at the monster with all the rage he has on the monarchy and the other heroes as he could only picture them as he blasts at the giant monster. The queen starts to spit out dozens of her babies at Bakugou as an attack, but just as usual he was immune to their damage and continued through blasting at them and the queen, with dozens of more balloons not from the queen start coming out of the grass to attack Bakugou. But they couldn't contain Bakugou's rage as he gets angrier and angrier at the world until he finally had enough. "I'll show them. I'll show them." The numerous balloons all latch onto Bakugou as his body becomes completely covered in orange, with the queen about to get a bite as well as it jumped in front of him. But Bakugou finally had it. "I'll show them." Boom! Bakugou released a giant explosion that consumed most of the area surrounding it in smoke for almost over 100 feet as debris of balloon fragments fall to the ground. The smoke finally cleared, with Bakugou standing on a burnt ground with the large amount of fragments surrounding him, including a large one that used to be the queen balloon. Bakugou managed to kill her along with hundreds of drones with her. He even leveled up to 6, the queen was worth 100 XP alone. After that explosion, Bakugou finally calmed himself down after being able to let out all of his rage. He puts away all the balloon fragments to sell later on when things calm down enough in town to be able to at least talk to the shopkeepers again. He also placed a queen fragment in his shield as it dissolves into the shield and displays queen balloon shield unlocked. Bakugou wasn't sure what it meant, but he wasn't in the mood to be experimenting right now. After that he turns around and heads toward the nearby forest to find and kill more powerful monsters and maybe find a dungeon or two. He didn't care, he just wants to get stronger. As he walks into the woods he says to himself more calmly, "I'll show all of them what a true hero really is." Chapter 3, The Shield Hero's Sidekick. It had been a week since Bakugou had been labeled as a rapist by the king's court, and it had been a rough one. Hardly any person would look at him with a straight face and are unwilling to talk to him. He has mostly stayed out of civilization and spent most of his time finding any monsters to kill and finding any abandoned dungeon to gain and learn new skills and shields. He had been mostly self-sufficient. With the health potions he can make as well as his healing shields he can fix any injuries he had and restore his HP. With a leather sleeping bag he bought he can sleep out in the woods. He can make his own food from the corpses of monsters he's killed, can make himself clean water with a purifying spell he learned from a former church member, and he can create fire with his quirk. The only time he went back to town was to sell off any loot he had. Many of the merchants attempted to rip Bakugou off by either increasing the price of their items or decrease the value of anything he was trying to sell. Unfortunately for each and every one of those merchants, they were manhandled by Bakugou and would threaten them that he would burn their stores down before any guards would help them if they wouldn't barter fair. With his scary-looking face and finally firing off his explosion quirk in front of them to show he's not bluffing, none wanted to face the wrath of the shield devil, so they were always forced to pay him a fair price in every deal. The only other shop owners that are willing to be more cooperative were the herbalist, the magic shopkeeper, and the blacksmith. But Bakugou hasn't needed their services since the day of his accusations, so he never bothered with them. A short fancy-looking slave dealer had also come up to him one night to offer his stock, but Bakugou quickly rejected his business deals as soon as he saw what he was selling. Bakugou never wants to get involved in slavery no matter what situation he was in. The only reason he would ever buy slaves would be to free them, and once he has the money to do so he will do it. Bakugou had already grind up to level 15 and he continued to go deeper and deeper into the forests to find bigger and harder monsters to kill. He has also started to use his various new shield skills in combat. As much as he hated the shield, he couldn't ignore its usefulness in battle while using his quirk on the other arm, allowing him to fight close encounters with the monsters and not just from a distance. It seemed like Bakugou was destined to fight alone in this world with no champions or friends. Just the lone hero. But that all changed in one day. It was another day in the woods as Bakugou blows up some more giant large dog-sized spiders. After killing all of them he inserts of what's left of them in the storage in the shield, which it said, Spider Web Shield unlocked, passive resistance to venom increased by 10%. After that Bakugou stores up the spider corpses and rips off their big webs. Their silk will be very valuable to the clothing merchants and perhaps the armor merchant as well, hearing rumors that it can be melded with armor. Bakugou brings up his shield map and was about to fast travel back to the capital until he heard a voice, "Help! Somebody help me please." It sounded feminine and it was close by. Bakugou's hero instincts came back to him. He may hate this world, but he was still determined to be the hero of it and couldn't just ignore it, so he followed the voice. Rope shield. He yelled to launch at a branch of a tree and used his quirk to launch himself up to the top. He continues to jump across the branches toward the call for help. He was being cautious as it could be a trap set, up by bandits so he would remain up until he sees something. After some more gliding across the trees, he heard the cry for help again. And saw something running through the woods. It looked blue but Bakugou couldn't see it properly. He finally stops and activates his binocular shield to get a closer look from afar and saw the blue figure. It was a young woman barely over 18 years old wearing blue robes, but after a close look, he sees that the girl's skin was completely blue as well. And behind her was a group of bandits chasing her, about 14 of them all who were taunting the girl as they chase after her. The young woman eventually tripped over on her own robes and fell on the ground. The bandits quickly surround the girl as they all proceed to mock her. Well, it looks like the clumsy pretty blue demi has finally tripped on herself. You should have known better than to walk into the woods like this. You might encounter some predators out here. The head bandit creepily talks to the young woman with the rest of the group laughing with him. The frightened girl attempts to reason with them. What do you want from me? You don't have anything of value on me. My currency is worthless out here. I tried everywhere to buy something with it but no one would accept it. The group just continues to laugh at the girl, with the leader getting closer toward her with a knife, who says, we are after your worthless coin. A pretty demi-human like yourself would be valuable to any horny nobleman. Haha, we will make huge money with you. The bandit mocks her, with her eyes widening, knowing full well what these bandits intend to do with her. But another bandit had another idea with her. Why waste a good piece of ass to some inbred noble? Why don't we keep her as a toy for ourselves? Many in the bandit group were shaking their heads in agreement, starting a small argument, frightening the girl even more. The bandit leader decided to set this out. Alright boys, alright. Why, don't we have a vote? Those in favor of selling her off to slavery say aye? No one answered. Alright, those in favor of keeping her to ourselves say aye? And the whole group unanimously yelled aye. While they were distracted, the girl attempted to make a run for it again, but she was stopped by a katana blade right on her throat. Where do you think you are going? The blade holder bandit mocks her, with other bandits now gathering around her. Bakugou was disgusted in what he saw and knew he had to do something. The girl looked way too genuinely frightened to be some actor for a trap. Bakugou knew this was the real deal. So in secret, he dropped down from the tree and was ready to start an ass beating. The bandit leader moves up toward the girl with his knife. Looks like you're going to be with us for now on, blue girl. I think it's appropriate we get this stupid robe off of you to be more in style of your new position as our new sex toy. The bandit moves his knife right at the girl. Please. Please no. Somebody help me. The girl shouts out, hoping someone will come. The group just laughs, with the leader being the loudest. Keep screaming all you like, but there are no guards coming out to help anyone, let alone a demi, so let me help you out of your robes and I'll. The bandit screams after a blunt metal object hits him in the head, with everyone including the girl was confused about who it was as they turned toward a figure coming out of the trees. You perverts better back off, or I'm going to be doing some castrating here. Coming out of the trees was Bakugou with his shield, reforming right back on him. After finally getting a good look and realizing who it is, the bandit group just smiles and laughs at Bakugou. Ha 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 ha, well look what we have here. It's the dreaded shield devil. The bandit leader said in a mocking tone. Dreaded, ha, what's a stupid shield going to do with us? Another bandit mocked Bakugou, who continued to stand there with an angry look on his face. I mean it, bastards, I'm going to break every one of your damn nuts. Bakugou threatens the group, who are not taking him seriously. That's a lot coming from you, the so-called hero who attempted to rape a princess. The bandit leader mocks as he gets closer to Bakugou, not feeling threatened at all, as his other men stayed close to the girl until he is right up toward Bakugou's face. Now how about, before I chop your balls off, boy, why don't you get lost while we have our fun? He threatens Bakugou, who continued his angry stare, not saying a word. The bandit decided he had enough as he raises his large knife. Okay, you stubborn brat, how about I cut open that cheek and see how much you cry? And after some built-up, he swipes right toward Bakugou's cheek. But Bakugou grabs hold of the leader's wrist, and stopped the swipe, surprising everyone including the leader. Bakugou smiles sinisterly as he grips on the leader's wrist harder and harder, turning the bandit leader from looking confused to afraid of him instantly. Bakugou finally spoke. "What did you call me before? Shield devil, huh? Well, it looks like it's time to punish some sinners then." And with his other hand, Bakugou blasted a small, but painful explosion on the guy's crotch. The guy falls over in agony with the rest of the group horrified, but the bandit leader in pain and agony still had the strength to order his group. "You idiots, don't stand there. Kill this brat." And with that, the whole bandit group went after Bakugou at once, even forgetting about the girl who ran and hid behind some trees to watch. The group with different weapons and armor all attempted to gang upon Bakugou, trying to smash him or cut him up. But not only are Bakugou's reflexes far faster for them to get close, but he was also able to beat all of their asses in hand-to-hand combat. He made good use of his explosion quirk and shield combo. The bandits would try to hit Bakugou only for him to block it and would in return give them a good explosion in the face. His physical combat would involve breaking various bones on the bandits' arms and legs. He may still do only 1 point in damage without the use of his quirk, but he can still cause great pain all the same, and the bandits feel it, especially in the private areas. He also used some of his other shields on the bandits. In one instance he yelled "balloon shield," and out came the balloon shield when a bandit with a large hammer tries to smash his skull, only for his shield to bounce back and hit himself in the face. 3 bandits attempt to attack at the same time with their long swords, only for Bakugou to shout, "Spider web shield!" And his new shield turns into a hexagonal spider web. Once in contact, the 3 bandits' swords were now stuck on the sticky web. They try to pull them off, but it was useless as they stare in horror as Bakugou gives them his sadistic smile. Bakugou quickly blasts them away into a bunch of trees, hurting them badly and knocking them out of the fight. After those 3, it all seemed over as the group of 13 bandits were taken out, with them all on the ground in deep pain and groaning. The girl hiding in the trees was amazed by that fight and was going to congratulate her savior. "By the gods, thank you for shhh. Quiet. Stand still." Bakugou interrupted and ordered her. The girl stopped but was confused. "What are you?" "Shush. There is one more out there still. And I know he's watching us." Bakugou warns the girl again, and she remained silent. It was quiet for a minute with just a breeze passing by, but out of nowhere the last bandit, with the katana, attempts to strike behind Bakugou, only for the prepared hero to stop it with his shield. With the two now locking eyes with each other, "You may have beaten my friends easily, but I'm more than a match for you, useless shielder," he mocks Bakugou. This only enraged the hero. "I'll show you, useless, you rapist bastard." Bakugou attempts to blast him away with his quirk, but the katana welder vanishes quickly. Bakugou continued to look around for the guy. He was no pushover like the rest of the bandits. According to his status magic, he was at level 30, over twice the level of Bakugou. Bakugou continued to remain silent as he waits for the guy to strike again. The bandit finally attacks, this time up front, now dual-wielding katana blades. With quick speeds, he swipes and attempts to stab or cut Bakugou, but he continues to hold out with his shield as the guy continues to attack as fast as possible while also dodging Bakugou's blasts. The battle was quick and deadly as the two jump and dodge all over the place, with both fighters holding out as much as possible. But Bakugou has noticed that as the battle went on, his opponent was starting to breathe heavier than before. He knew what was going on and he finally found his strategy. "What's the matter, beach face? Can't beat a useless shielder who is levels below you." Bakugou insults the man, enraging him even more, and goes to attack Bakugou again as he continued blocking the katana swipes. The katana wielder continued on and on, but he was noticeably getting slower and slower as he was growing tired by how drawn out the fight has become as he uses up his MP. Bakugou was finally able to get some blasts off the guy, damaging him and thrown him into some trees. The bandit was determined to win and pressed on, but Bakugou was now dodging the blade without even using his shield and had repeatedly punched, kicked, and bashed the guy with his shield, only doing 1 damage, but was still inflicting great pain on him. The bandit was about done. He had no mana left to magically increase his speed and had used up whatever stamina he had left as he begins to collapse on the ground in pain and was even coughing up blood. Bakugou just smiles standing above him. "You're probably used to finishing fights quickly. You never learn to be more conservative of your energy or realize your enemy could take a hit. I expected a better challenge. You're absolutely pathetic." He insults the bandit. But the bandit had it with Bakugou. "I will show you who's pathetic." And with the last of his energy, he attempts to strike at Bakugou regardless of no plan or strategy. He goes for the kill with a blade aimed at his heart with the other for his neck. But Bakugou not only stopped the one blade from hitting his neck by grabbing onto the guy's wrist, but he also placed his shield in front of the other blade and it snaps in half. The bandit now looked completely horrified as he looks at his broken blade, and looks back at Bakugou as he continues to grip his wrist so hard he was forced to drop his other sword. What the hell are you?" the horrified bandit asked. Bakugou smiles sinisterly as he moves his hand right up to his face. "I'm the #1 hero, Katsuki Bakugou." Bakugou releases a blast right at the guy's face, sending him flying into a tree, finally knocking him out. All the bandits were finally defeated with Bakugou standing victoriously. He then turns back to the girl hiding. "You can finally come out now." The blue girl comes out of hiding again. She couldn't believe what she just saw. She never encountered someone with such strength and power before and without a real weapon. She stands near him at all. "What the hell are you looking at?" Bakugou asked her. "Oh I just wanted to say thank you, hero, for rescuing me like that. You basically saved my life. All by yourself, no less. And well, I never saw that kind of magic before with all the smoke and fire." She continues to talk to him. She wasn't so sure what else to ask him, but as Bakugou was looting all of the bandits' armor, weapons, and anything of value, he asked her some questions as well. "Yeah, that's none of your damn business. How the hell did someone like you get into the woods like this to meet creeps like that?" he demanded from her. "Well, you see, I was just looking for food to eat since I've been unable to buy my own, and well, these criminals found me, and I ran away from them further into the woods to lose them. But had you not come along, oh gods, who knew what they were planning to do with me?" She answers Bakugou, "Well, whatever the hell you are here for. Just tell me where you are from and I might as well escort you back if you're willing to pay once we get back, of course." Bakugou answers as he finally starts taking off the bandits' clothes other than their underwear. He's figuring that taking her home will at least mean a new town with new merchants, new monsters, new quests, and fewer people that might know of his false crime. But the girl seemed too timid to answer Bakugou as she taps her fingers together nervously. Well, it's kind of complicated. I really don't live anywhere right now, and I don't have much to my name to begin with other than my clothes and my money that is kind of worthless out here." Bakugou was mad by this girl now seeing her as completely worthless to him, but rather than exploding at her, he is still trying to rectify his last mistake of insulting and shouting those he's supposed to rescue in the first place from the provisional exam. He just sighs in disappointment after he finished looting the bodies. "Fine, whatever, I'll just escort you to the nearest town and you can just get lost from there. Let me take care of these creeps first," he says as he moves all the unconscious bodies together. He then raises his arm and shouts, "Rope shield," which turns his shield into a series of ropes and proceeds to tie the group together. After a minute later, many of the bandits finally wake up and are horrified to see that they were all tied up together in thick rope in only their underwear. "What the hell is going on here?" their leader shouted. Bakugou looks down at them and smugly answers, "I tied up you bastards. I would blast out your brains. But I'm in a good mood today, so call yourself lucky." One of the bandits decided to mock Bakugou. "Also, the shield devil has a heart after all. So what are you going to do then? Turn us into the authorities?" The bandits figure that if Bakugou did that, they would tell them the shield devil did this and would most likely believe them and set them all free. "I don't think so." Bakugou quickly answers. This startled the group. "What? Wait, what are you going to do then?" Bakugou grins. Basically nothing. You idiots are going to have to get out on your own. And you better do it fast before nightfall. Lots of nasty monsters like to come out at night hungry for easy prey. This frightens the entire crew, especially since he took all of their weapons and armor. They desperately tried to break out of the rope, but it was no good. Oh yeah, that rope is magically bonded, so without your weapons you won't have the strength to break out of it, and you will break your teeth before you can chew out of it. The only way to break out of it is with this seal, Bakugou says as he shows off a small circular object the size of a small coin. All you have to do now is find it. He then turns and with the help of his quirk throws the seal far away into the dark woods to the bandits' horror. So good luck, Bakugou finally says to them and walks away back to civilization with the girl following him. Though just before they were out of sight of them, the girl gives the crew the middle finger as she walks away with him. The horrified bandit group was now struggling to even move around together as they are desperate to find that seal before they are eaten by the monsters at pitch black night. Bakugou and the girl were walking for a few minutes, both silent, with Bakugou not interested in talking and the girl nervously having no idea what to say to him. He was her savior after all, and she was just some useless helpless girl. She wanted to ask some big questions to him, but she was too nervous to even say anything. After some tapping on her fingers, she finally had the courage to say something to him. So hero, where are we going again? She asked. Are you deaf or what? I said we're going to the closest city, which is the capital, where I will drop you off and you can get lost. He answers rudely to her. The girl can tell that Bakugou wasn't like any other hero her people would describe, but it didn't matter to her, as regardless of his attitude he still saved her life, so she was willing to be open with him. Well, I also noticed you're alone without a group. Do you have any champions? She asked. No, everyone hates me in this damn world, and I hate them back, so I don't need any help from those idiots. Why do you even care? Bakugou answers and asked back. The girl was somewhat unsure what to ask him. She too was hated from where she came from. She could barely take care of herself, and yet here is her savior beating a group of bandits without trouble. She had to finally say what she wanted to ask. Well, actually, hero, I have something I wanted to ask you. Stop calling me just hero. The name's Katsuki Bakugou, the shield hero, but just call me Bakugou. He corrects her, not caring too much what this girl is saying. Oh sorry, Sir Bakugou. Well, I just wanted to ask that I could. Will you spit it out already? You're annoying me. Bakugou yells at the girl. Please, Sir Bakugou, could I join your party? She finally says out loud, making Bakugou stop. He turns around and looks unamused by her with his arms crossed. You're actually serious? He asked her. Yes, sir, I would like to follow you and be of any help, she responds to him, getting excited, thinking he was interested. Unfortunately for her, Bakugou had the opposite feelings. Sorry kid, I don't run a babysitting business. You can whore yourself to some other loser to help you. He turns back and begins walking away. But the girl knew she couldn't give up that easily. But wait. Sir Bakugou, I can be of use to you. Like what? Bakugou asked as he continues to walk, ignoring her. Well, I can cook for you, clean your armor, and maybe taste test your food for poison. I don't need a damn maid. If you keep bringing up nonsense, then you can screw off to Fine Town by yourself. He bluntly answered her. Well, if you need help with combat, I could be of your assistance, she suggested. Well, I didn't see any combat out of you, considering you couldn't even put up a fight with a bunch of low-life rapists. Yeah, but there were over a dozen of them and they were way higher in level than me. I didn't have a chance. Your damn level or enemy numbers shouldn't matter, idiot. Your own confidence and your skill in tactics should have made you pull through. If you can't see through that, then I shouldn't give a rat's ass about you. Then maybe you can train me. Train me to be a better fighter like you, she suggested. Bakugou just laughed. Ha, you think I'm going to waste my time with your useless ass? I got better things to do, like to show those other cardinal idiots who's number one here than helping a lost cause. Go back to whatever people you are from and beat it. Please Sir Bakugou, I just want to. I said no. Bakugou explodes at her, making the girl trip and fall on her butt. I need to become the #1 hero and save this world from hell beasts. I don't have the time to waste on a weakling like you. So screw off. Bakugou yells, no longer caring if the girl was following him or not. The girl looked depressed, thinking she failed again with yet another person seeing her as useless. Unknown to him, she had been called similar things where she grew up, and for not just her people but her own family too. It seemed like her chance to improve herself has now passed her. She was now all by herself, all alone again. But she couldn't stop no matter how much he rejected her. After finding her inner courage, she finally runs up in front of him and stops Bakugou and shouts, "Sir Hero, please. I told you it's Bakug." Huh? He yells, but then stops when the girl had kneeled down with her face on the ground as she bowed before him with her hands clamped together. "Please, please Sir Hero. I have nothing. I have no titles, no property, no real money, no purpose, and nowhere to go. My own people didn't want me around. I was banished from my home. I have no one to go to. My money is worthless out here and I can't fight for crap. I have nowhere to go and nothing to go to. You may not be the most pleasant person on the planet. But despite that, you saved my life and you risked yourself to fight people you could have just avoided. You're a real hero, Sir Bakugou. You can help give me the means to feed myself. You can give me something to fight for. You can give me a purpose in my horrible life right now. I know we just met but I feel like you're the missing piece of my life, but not from love or anything like that, but a piece to fill up my soul, to give me a purpose in life that is worth living for, one that I can prove my own strength. So please Sir Katsuki Bakugou, the great hero with the shield, help me to have a purpose in my pathetic life." The girl finishes and begs at Bakugou. Unable to say anything immediately, Bakugou turns around and starts acting angry, to himself with his conflicted mind. Damn it. What the hell am I supposed to say now? I don't need some useless item carrier around to be a distraction, nor do I need some stupid harem. And no way in hell am I going to train her worthless ass. She is going to accomplish nothing. But after he thinks of that, he looks back and remembers his old childhood quirkless friend Izuku, who he eventually nicknamed Deku, a name meaning unable to accomplish anything. He thinks more deeply into this. Deku was just some quirkless crybaby for most of his pathetic life and ill. Until he met All Might. He took up that worthless loser and turned him into his successor to his own quirk, one for all. Even if I fucking hate to admit it, Deku has become a worthy rival to me, not from just in strength but also to be a real hero if he could pass his provisional license and I couldn't. Bakugou then thinks more into it. What if I can myself turn this worthless crybaby and make her an actual competent hero? No, even better, I can make her one of the best heroes in this world that will make spineless Paleface, Bo Beach, and Ponytail Slot look like incompetent idiots in comparison. I intend to be #1. One day, and I'm going to have some sidekicks eventually. If I'm going to have sidekicks, they will be the best in this whole damn planet. And if All Might can change worthless Deku, then I can change this loser as well. It will definitely be a worthy challenge. Bakugou continues to think about this with the girl still bowing, waiting for an answer. Bakugou finally turns around for his response. "Alright, fine, you can be in my party." The girl couldn't believe what she just heard, and her tears of sadness turned into tears of joy when she heard it. "You mean it? Oh, thank you Sir Bakugou, thank. Let me finish, you idiot." He shouts at her, not liking to be interrupted, quickly alerting the girl. Yes, sorry Sir Bakugou, I won't say anything else until you say so," she says as she bows and then stood straight up. Bakugou speaks again. "Alright, listen here. I will allow you to be in my party. You will be my very first sidekick." What's a side? The girl interrupts nervously, but she stops when Bakugou looks at her with an angry look for interrupting again. "Sorry, continue," she says quietly. Bakugou continues. "You're going to be my sidekick for now on. I'll buy and make your food and won't charge you with anything. But listen here and listen closely. I don't expect you to lay around on your ass all day. You are going to be my active combat party member. You will fight with me and kick whoever's asses I want you to kick. You will also always remember that I am in charge here and that I'm the best. You will do everything I say and to do it well. And I don't want to hear any more bitching, complaining, or crying. If you're going to be a hero, you are going to have to act like one. I'm going to be straight with you. You're a worthless piece of trash now, but if you care about having a purpose in life, then I'm going to give you one. I'm going to make you the second best hero in all of this world, and I will make sure they will say your name along with mine. So tell me now, are you willing to do the work to be a hero? The girl was quiet, but inside she couldn't be any more happier. She would no longer have to savage in the woods and sleep on the dirt. She now had a place in this new world. Thank you, Sir Bakugou. I accept your offer. I'll do what you need of me, and I'm willing to do anything to be a hero like you. I will be your new apprentice and I will do all I can to make you proud, sir. The girl was bowing again, but this time not to beg but to show respect to her new master. Bakugou just smirks happily that he now has someone in this world that will genuinely respect him and was ready for the challenge ahead to turn this weakling into a badass hero like him. After some button pressing on the status screen, Bakugou officially made a girl into his party member and a champion. According to the screen, her name was Navarone and she was only a level 3 with weak statuses, to Bakugou's displeasure, but he knew it won't be easy and was ready to change this quickly. He turns back to the girl and says, "Alright, since you're in Team Bakugou now, I might as well just fast travel to the capital and get you properly dressed up." And quickly Bakugou pulls his map shield and the two vanish as they both teleport back to Melromarc's capital. Bakugou and I appear back at the marketplace of Melromarc's capital, for Bakugou to properly set up his new sidekick. For the first thing of business, Bakugou and headed off to the blacksmith shop to get her properly equipped. They both went inside the shop where the smith was, making swords on his anvil. "Welcome to my..." "Oh, it's you, and... oh, who is the lovely lady behind you?" the smith says once he sees Bakugou and nervously behind him. Bakugou was blunt to the point. "This pathetic wimp is my new sidekick and I need her in actual armor so she won't die instantly, so you're going to show me what you got." "Sounds good. I don't know what the sidekick is, but I can get her the best armor I can find," the smith enthusiastically says. "Make sure it's light armor, nothing too heavy," Bakugou requested, though No was a little confused. "Why not heavy armor, Sir Bakugou? Shouldn't I be wearing the armor with the best defense? Heavy armor is going to slow you down. I need your ass to keep up with me since you're going to be my main attacker. Besides, I'm going to be your main defense. As long as you follow orders and don't have a thick skull, you're not going to need any thick armor with it," Bakugou rudely answers her. The blacksmith then showed off multiple sets of light armor for her size. Bakugou wasn't impressed by most of it, finding their stats inadequate. After looking through multiple sets, Bakugou finally just brought out the spider silk to the smith. "Say, I'm curious, will this stuff help make her strong light armor?" Bakugou asked the smith. "Spider silk? Yes, definitely. Light and strong as steel, perfect for light armor, especially if I add some magic to it. For it to be custom made, though, it might take about an hour or so, but I can use this and forge strong but light armor for your girlfriend." She is not my damn girlfriend, idiot. She's my sidekick, Bakugou yells at him. Okay, sorry. Now let me get this armor made already before I lose my sense of hearing." He jokes as he rubs his ears and goes toward the back to make the armor. While the smith was busy, Bakugou and No went to sell off all of his loot to the various merchants, the monster corpses, and the bandits' weapons, armor, and regular clothing. None of the merchants would argue against Bakugou after he threatened them before and wouldn't go against him now. As they were walking, Net tries to strike a conversation with Bakugou. So I guess I should at least give you my name if we're going to be partners together." "I am." "No, I know already, my status magic showed me. And we are not partners here. That would mean you are my equal, which you're not even remotely close. You're pathetic right now. But I'm going to make you into something soon enough." Bakugou says to her. Well, okay, but it's still nice of you to train me, Sir Bakugou, actually giving me a chance. My family never had much faith in me, saw me as a dead end. Despite not being a person for small talk, Bakugou figure he might as well learn more of this world from the girl. So Blueface, how much do you know about the area around here? Well, Sir Bakugou, to be completely honest with you, I have absolutely no clue. I'm new to the surf. This country, I don't know much about the magic or technology of it either. Great, so you are a lot more useless than I expected, Bakugou says out loud. He wasn't sure how one person who's been in this world for most of her life could know hardly anything in it. Na tries to think of something. Well, I'm not completely useless. I can breathe underwater without any equipment. That's something, right? Sure, if I decided to throw you into a lake, you would be useful for once. Bakugou sarcastically says to Na, mocking her. But as she continues to act nervously around Bakugou, afraid of saying the wrong thing to him, she lowered her hood down to scratch the back of her head. Bakugou finally got a good look at her and something caught his attention. Na definitely wasn't human, but she didn't resemble any demi-human either. Nothing remotely looks animal about her, nor did she resemble any animal species like a dog, cat, raccoon or anything. She had completely light blue skin with some black tattoo pattern marks not resembling anything, and had long black hair. What was the biggest eye-grabber though was her ears. They were pointy and knife-shaped. From all of the fantasy stuff Bakugou had watched or played, he knew what she resembled: an elf. It sparked Bakugou's curiosity. Despite all of the fantasy tropes this world has, he noticed it lacked any elves, no regular citizens, no nation, no tribe, no civilization, no rival empire, or anything from what the locals had told him on his second day here and what he looked around in this world. Bakugou wanted to know more now. Let me get this over with, kid. Are you an elf? Bakugou asked her to get straight to the point. Na looked nervous to say anything but eventually spoke. Well, yes I am. My people are the Aquila Elva, or translated into your language the Water Elves. He asked a more personal question to her. So where are they at, and why exactly were you exiled by them? You hardly seem like a threat to anyone. Na twirled her fingers around nervously. I really don't want to talk about it. Let's just say I've done something to make everyone very mad at me and leave it like that. And to where my people are at, well, let's just say it's not marked on any map. She answers, can you be more specific? Bakugou demanded. Well, we were driven off the continent by the humans and demi-humans long ago, over 1,000 years, but we still exist. We are just in a different ecosystem right now, away from the mainlands or islands surrounding the continent. We are pretty isolated. Na answers. He could tell she was clearly holding more information than she was letting on, but Bakugou decided to not press it further, not caring about irrelevant information. Bakugou just shrugs it off. Whatever, as long you're not some psychopath serial killer, I don't give a rat's ass what you did before, who you are, or where you are from before. From here on out I'm going to mold you into who I want you to be. Na was happy to hear that. Despite all of the insults Bakugou throws at her, he was one of the only people who actually gave her a chance and was honored by him. After selling off the loot for 500 silver, about an hour passed. Bakugou and Na went back to the smith's shop. Bakugou went up to the counter to yell, "Hey Baldy, where's my damn armor? Hold on, hold your horses, I've just finished it up." The smith says as he drops off the armor on the table, "Here you go, your custom-made spider silk light armor. Should fit the lady perfectly fine." "Alright, Blue, put the armor on," Bakugou orders. Na nods and proceeds to undo her robe. "Not here, idiot. In a damn changing room." He yells at her. "Sorry, Sir Bakugou, I just took your order literally," she says as she grabs the armor and runs into a changing room. Bakugou just sighs to himself. This is going to be harder than I thought. The smith decided to have some small talk with Bakugou while Na changed. "So where did you get your girl at?" "Saved her from a bunch of rapists in the woods, though I don't see how that's any of your business, Baldy." Bakugou rudely answers, I have a name you know, it's Erhard. The smith says to him. Whatever Baldy, though I guess I might as well ask you this, do you know anything about elves? Bakugou asked if he can get any more information out of this. Elves? I don't know much about their culture and stuff, but I knew they used to be a thing over 1,000 years ago, heard they excelled greatly in magical technology. Erhard answered, what do you mean used to be a thing? Bakugou asked. Erhard gives his answer, I don't know the exact details or the politics behind it, but I knew they were wiped out to extinction after a big war with us humans and demi-humans at the time ago. Hey, wait a minute, don't tell me that girl, is she? But Bakugou interrupts him, forget it, it doesn't matter who she is. I just want a second-hand source on it. Bakugou answers, at least he knew now that the girl was in line with Erhard's claim, matching up with hers with some stuff meddled in their histories. There's more to this than neither of them were letting on, but Bakugou will have to figure it out some other time. Right now all that mattered was to make her a competent hero. Alright, I won't bring it up to her, I just hope you're not being too harsh on the poor girl, sounds like she's been through a lot, a concern Erhard says to Bakugou, which he remained silent. He knew what he was doing was harsh, but he's helping her to know the reality of things, and the only way she will get anything out this world is if she learns that she has to harden herself to get anywhere. After a minute passes, Na finally comes out in her new armor. It is green and leathery looking, with a spiderweb-like pattern decorating the armor, with the lower half looking somewhat like a skirt. Now out of the robes, it gave Bakugou and the smith Erhard a clearer look at her. Na had bright purplish blue eyes, her skin was indeed completely blue. It also showed off some of her black tattoo markings over her arms and neck, with her elf ears more on display. So what do you all think? She asked. I say you're a fine warrior, perfect armor for a hero. Don't you think so, shield hero? The smith compliments her. Bakugou uses his status screen to overlook the girl's default stats before and after the armor. Before the armor she was pretty pathetic in everything but an attack that was 4 times as high as Bakugou's, to his displeasure, though 4 times 1 is nothing to brag home about. But thankfully the new armor has also boosted all her stats times 3, so it was amazing armor, but Bakugou still has a lot to do to make her be even remotely competent. It'll do, let's just buy it already. He bluntly says, with her walking back toward him with her old clothes as well. Erhard quickly spoke up. So I'm guessing she's going to need a weapon to go with that armor? No, I've already got her one. She can use this. Bakugou responds and gives Na the bag with the weapon, since Bakugou can't hold it himself. Na takes it out and it was a katana blade. Where did you get this, Sir Bakugou? She asked. It was the best weapon those bandits had. They aren't going to need it anymore, so you might as well use it. And don't you break the thing or I'm going to make you work for it. Bakugou answers. Specifically, it was the other katana that their most powerful bandit had, with the other breaking by his shield. Alright then, for a hero's discount and a warm welcome to our elven friend, it will cost you about 700 silvers. The smith says. Seems pricey, how about? Don't give that crap again. It's 700 silver period, no more or less. Erhard interrupts Bakugou, not wanting to haggle again. Okay, fine. Bakugou shrugs and paid the armor. He had at least 1,400 silver left, including the money from the loot he sold, so he's hoping this girl will be worth the investment. After that, Bakugou teleported them to a different part of the forest to rest for the night. Bakugou was ready to start his pet project as soon as dawn breaks, so they both needed as much rest as possible. Bakugou started a fire, and he and Na had dinner from some of the corpses Bakugou killed. Afterward they head off for bed with the fire kept on to drive away any monsters for the night. Na goes inside her sleeping bag Bakugou had to buy for her as she attempts to sleep. It didn't seem much for the young elf, but it was better than sleeping on the dirt ground. Though Na still had so much to say. Sir Bakugou, not that I'm complaining, but why do we have to sleep out here in the woods rather than just at an inn? Inns cost money. And besides, you need to learn how to survive out in the wilderness on your own. There won't always be a cozy inn to sleep at all the time, so you need to learn to adapt. Now just go to sleep already. Bakugou explains as he turns his body away from the bright campfire. But Na had more to say. Sir Bakugou, I just want to thank you again for taking me in. Everyone has always written me off and expect nothing out of me. But you have given me a chance to prove myself. You may not act like it, but you are still a kind man, Sir Bakugou, regardless of what some people might say. She thanks Bakugou, who was just tired. Yeah, whatever, just go to sleep already. Bakugou yawns, but Na continued, well, I don't know about you, but I'm excited for tomorrow, being able to fight monsters and to save lives as you did for me, and so much more. Would you shut it already? An increasingly frustrated Bakugou demanded. Well, it's just amazing. I don't think I would ever have this kind of day where fate gave me mercy and to be so much more than I could ever. Will you goddamn go to bed already? Bakugou yells as he moves further away from the fire and covers his ears. Na finally stopped and went to bed herself to soon start her first day of hero training. Alright. Get up now. Bakugou shouts right above his sleeping sidekick. Na barely woke up. Sir Bakugou, the sun is barely out, don't you think it's a little? I told you no complaining. Stand up straight, maggot. Bakugou, orders Na. She immediately jumped out and stood straight up, now alive and alert as the shield hero wanted. Sorry, Sir Bakugou, I don't give any damns who you are sorry for. Today is the beginning of me training you to be something, because right now you're a weak baby. For now on, from dawn to dusk, I will train you until you're throwing up. Like I told you before, you will do as I say and do it. Well, you got that. Bakugou barks at Na like an army commander, making her nervously sweat. Of course, Sir Bak. I don't want that crap. I want you to refer to me just as Sir for now on, so you will answer me Sir. Yes, sir. Got it. Bakugou interrupts. Sir, yes, sir. Na quickly responded. Bakugou then smirks. Good. Now give me 100 push-ups. He ordered. This surprised Na. 100. Sir, but that. I told you I don't want to hear any complaints. If you can't endure 100 push-ups, how in the hell are you going to endure a monster attack? So do me 100 or no breakfast. Bakugou orders her. Sir, yes, sir. Na responded and went to do her 100 push-ups. Though it wasn't pretty, her form was sloppy and she was already getting exhausted by only the 20th push-up. We will be doing this 2 times a day every day until you're used to it, as well as adding another 25 each time, Bakugou says. 25 extra. But sir, I told you no complaining. That's another 50 right there. Bakugou yells at her. Not saying another word, she continues her 150 push-ups. After that and breakfast, Bakugou continued to make her do more various exercises which involved more physical activities, including 5-mile-long runs around an open meadow. Eventually along the way they came across a wide but shallow river that had a couple of rock platforms across it. Are we going around it, sir? Na asked. There isn't going to be an easy way out of every situation, maggot, to cross. Bakugou says, but before he could finish he starts jumping across the many rocks without touching the water, without using his quirk, until he was on the other side. You're going to have to work to get there. Bakugou finished. Na was slowly moving on some of the rocks as she tries to be careful not to fall, but Bakugou had low patience. Faster. Faster, idiot, faster. Monsters are not going to wait for you to be careful, you need to act now. He yells at her, putting a lot of pressure as she struggles to get across some of the smaller rocks. But she eventually trips and falls into the shallow water. Bakugou just shook his head and told her, let's just keep going. Na was sad and disappointed, thinking she failed her master's first test, but she gets out of the water now wet and continued following him with their long jog. They eventually went near a wooden part of the area with a lot of large fallen trees, where Bakugou casually jumps over them quickly and without effort, but Na struggled to climb over one as Bakugou waited for her to go over the dozen fallen trees and refused to let her go around. You need to be more flexible with your obstacles or you're going to be slaughtered. Go over faster. He barked at her. After that, the last obstacle he had her do was to run up and climb a steep 15-foot tall hill cliff with rocks sticking out to climb up. Bakugou of course showed her and done it without his quirk. And as before, Na struggled to get herself up and even fell off the cliff hill a few times, with Bakugou laying on a shaded part of a tree on top of the hill as he waits for her. After many more tries, Na finally got up, tired and exhausted from all of the exercises and running for so long. Bakugou had been giving her a bunch of stamina potions for her to keep up, so no matter how tired she got, Bakugou would force her to take another restore and non-addictive stamina potion he crafted himself to keep her going. Bakugou then sets her up another exercise. Okay, this will be simple for you since you're going to be dealing with a weapon from now on. I want you to get used to it. So I want you to swing your blade 1,000 times, 500 times one-handed, 500 times two-handed. Got that? Na was still breathing heavily, but she was glad to have what seemed like a simple task. Yes sir, she answered as she brings out her sword to swing it. 1 2 3 4 5 6. And while she has been doing this exercise, Bakugou sits down and attempts to learn this world's written language, starting with learning their alphabet, for him to be able to read the books he's acquired. After a long period of time, Na eventually finishes swinging, nearly out of breath. 996, 997, 998, 999, 1000. She finishes counting as she falls back to the ground exhausted. Bakugou noticed and starts his next lesson with her. Now it's time for you to fight a moving target. Queen Balloon Shield. Bakugou shouts with his shield now, resembling a face of a balloon monster with a large mouth open. When he activates it, the mouth spits out a real living balloon monster. Na witnesses it as she gets herself back up, thinking she's ready for action. Bakugou speaks up again. Okay Wimp, listen up, you're going to be fighting this thing and you're going to do everything you can to kill it and do it as fast as possible. Now go. Bakugou orders as he throws the balloon towards her. Na held her sword confidently, thinking it was going to be easy, but it turned out it wasn't, as the balloon jumps around all over the place with her clumsily missing it by swinging wildly at it. It eventually attacked and bit on her hip. Na panics as she punches at the balloon. Sir. Sir. Help. Get it off. Get it off. She screams. Relax, your armor prevents you from feeling any damage from its low attack. Just kill the damn thing already. Bakugou casually says as he continues to study the writing of this world. After a few minutes, Na continues to lunge and swing around to kill the balloon, but it was hard for her at her state. But eventually, she finally hits and kills the thing. Yes, I did it. Sir, I finally killed it. Na cheers, thinking she accomplished something big. Pathetic. Bakugou bluntly says, ruining Na's cheering. Do you think that's going to make you into a great hero? If it takes you that goddamn long to kill a thing that low level, then you have no chance in surviving against actual threats. I expect you to kill these things without any trouble. Not only did it take you 5 damn minutes to kill one, but you also allowed yourself to get bitten by it multiple times. If it was a real enemy, you would be dead, and I'm not going to have you be a liability. Bakugou continues giving her more instructions. For now on, if you fail to kill the monster in less than 5 seconds, you're going to have to do another 1,000 swings with your sword to get used to your swinging, and if you get bitten even once by it, you're going to have to run the 5-mile lap again that we did before to increase your endurance and flexibility. This includes going through the river, the logs, and this cliff again. And if both happen, you're doing both exercises. Got it? Na was horrified to hear that. Both. But sir, don't you dare butt me. Do you want me to double it? Bakugou yells at her as she shakes her head without saying a word. Then get going. He orders, with Na doing her 5-mile run again and afterward her 1,000 swings to try to kill the balloon again. Bakugou now had her on a routine, so now all he had to do while she trains was to sit down and study and learn more skills under the tree, while occasionally checking on her if she tries to take shortcuts, or to slack off. This went on for the rest of the day, all with Na doing her running and swinging exercises. Then she fights a balloon again afterward, but she would always fail to not get hit or kill it quickly. She'd be forced to do the exercises again and again. It was hard on the girl, especially since she can't even collapse from exhaustion with Bakugou's stamina potions. It was extremely hard. Anyone else would have quitted a while ago, but despite Bakugou's harshness, she knew deep down he is doing what is best for her, and she knew she wasn't going to fail herself again and pressed on harder and harder than before. With each failure she got better and better, being able to run faster, skip across the river more easily and not fall as much, jump over the logs with more ease and quicker, and having less struggle in climbing up the cliff. She had been able to kill a balloon faster than before and dodging their attacks more often. After many hours of intense exercise and training, she was finally able to not only kill a balloon in less than 5 seconds but to do it without getting bitten by it. "I did it, sir, I killed it in 5 seconds." Bakugou noticed and smirked. "Good, now, do it again, but this time with 10 at the same time and in 15 seconds. He orders, immediately ruining his mood. "Taden?" she says, with Bakugou's shield spitting out 10 more balloon monsters for her to train. "And if you fail, this time you're still going to do 1,000 swings and run the same 5 miles, but this time you will have 50-pound weights on you." Bakugou orders, horrifying Na as she pouts and falls in exhaustion. This continued for the rest of the day until it was pitch black at night. After her evening push-ups, Na immediately went to bed from all the exercise that day. Bakugou finally finished memorizing the alphabet and knowing a few words. He now understands how the writing works. For an experiment he wrote his first and last name in this world's written language on a piece of paper and soon after puts it in his shield, which glows and reads language translated, gain passive ability to read this language. Bakugou activates his grimoire shield and after looking at the pages, the language magically transformed into Japanese kanji. Bakugou can now read from it and any other book or sign for now on. He spent a large amount of the night reading the book before he finally had enough and went to bed. A large amount of the next 6 days was the same as before. Na had to do her morning push-ups and then had to do her test with the 10 balloons and exercise in her failure to do so. And at the meantime, Bakugou was learning more about magic and has already experimented on some of his new spells and abilities he learned from it. For curiosity's sake, he uses his crystal ball shield to see what magic potential Na has. According to the magic ball, she has affinities for water and electricity magic as well as some minor healing potential. Bakugou was also testing out his quirk. He wasn't 100% sure why, but it seemed like the more he has used it out here the more different it felt. It seemed like the more he leveled up the less drawback and pressure he gets from firing a blast from the giant explosions he makes. It's not remotely a bad thing. It means that he can use his quirk more often than he could before, though he still found it weird to get used to. But as long as his quirk still fires, that is all that mattered to Bakugou, and he's saving a few big ones once he gets his chance to see the king, Motoyasu, Itsuki, Ren, and especially Malti again. As Na continued to do Bakugou's harsh training, he also spent his time learning more mundane but useful things that could be used for later. After a lot of experimenting, he started to learn how to create regular medicine from his shield after inserting some medical plants and with his medical shields and some tips from the herbalist, while Bakugou already learned how to craft various potions, including HP and stamina ones. He can now craft regular medicine for normal illnesses. While useful, he originally wanted to learn it just so he can use it as mouthwash to kill off bacteria in his mouth, since toothpaste is non-existent in this world and he had no intention of coming back to his homeworld with cavities. By the morning of the 7th day, Na, despite her original state, was now able to do Bakugou's exercises without any problem, even with weights. She was used to her sword by now, one and two-handed. She can run 5 miles with weight without resting. She can skip across the river like nothing, jump over the logs with ease, and can climb the cliff in only a few seconds. And finally, she can now kill 10 balloons in just 15 seconds and not get hit by them. This quite surprised Bakugou. He knew his training would bring in results, but for the girl to do it in about a week somewhat gave him pride that he now had his own deku. From some of the shields he looked over, he has read the status effects on all of them, and it seemed that some of the magic of shields he had unlocked had helped Na build up, being able to get months worth of training in a week. The constant use of stamina potions also helped out. Her body also got a little more muscular than before, with thicker arms and legs developed from her muscles, with even some minor abs developing. Exactly like how Deku changed from his months of training. Bakugou knew she still had a lot to go, but he had enough of sitting around and just learning things. She now was ready to fight, and it was time for her and him to level up again. Bakugou turns toward her after her final victory. Good, it looks like your ass is not completely useless anymore. But playtime is over now, it's time we fight real monsters, and have you become a real hero. He announces to her as she bows in gratitude. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for giving me a chance. Bakugou grins with pride. Alright then, it's time we get off our asses and get you to level up finally. There are some caves nearby with good monsters to kill. And remember, follow my every order. Yes sir. She responded as they head out. After 4 days things were starting to pick up, with Na following Bakugou's orders. She started to fight bigger and stronger monsters. No longer did she struggle with fighting balloons. She can now kill mad badgers, rabid wolves, giant spiders, and even killer mushrooms without much struggle. Bakugou still barked orders at her and criticized anything she did wrong, but Nick continued to remain obedient to Bakugou and followed any order he gave. In just 4 days she had reached level 20, with Bakugou at level 33 now. At day they were grinding monsters, at night she and Bakugou were studying from various training books. Bakugou's shield also gave a passive ability for his partners to read the language of this world as well. So he gave her a sword move and ability book he found in one dungeon for her to study and train, and he made sure she read it or he would explode at her if she tries to skim through any of it. Bakugou had also helped her learn some magic, though so far the only thing she has been able to learn was an electric shock ability, in which when she is in contact with something she can release a huge electric charge to not only partially damage her opponent but can possibly stun them as well at the expense of almost all of her EP. It reminded him of Kaminari's quirk back at you. Only this wouldn't make her lose what intelligence she had when she uses it. Bakugou had also gained new shield abilities, including something called an airstrike shield, which makes a large green energy shield appear in any place he sees, both for defense and to jump on as a platform. The only contention with Bakugou toward Na is her being unable to act near giant opponents, no matter how much he yelled at her or barked orders. Whenever there is an enemy larger than anything than herself, she startles and panics. Like in one instance they were fighting a group of mad knee-high-sized forest rats with disease-ridden bites. Both Bakugou and Na took care of them easily, with Na hardly having any problem with them, but as they were fighting them a giant cat-like monster comes out of the trees to attack them. It was far bigger than the rats, over 3 times bigger than a tiger in Bakugou's world, with razor-sharp claws and teeth. Bakugou yells out, "Blue, jump over that fat cat and stab it in the back." Na heard what Bakugou said, but she was too terrified of the beast to even get close to it. She instantly forgot what she was supposed to do and just ran away from it, with it now chasing her. Bakugou face-palmed himself and used his quirk to catch up with the two. When Na trips, the cat pounced toward her, only for Bakugou to shout airstrike shield, creating a green shield right above Na, with the cat landing on it as the monster attempts to scratch at the shield. But Bakugou finally gets on top of the cat, and as it tries to shake him off, Bakugou finally placed his hand on the monster's neck and blasted right through it, killing it instantly. He collected the pieces of the giant rats and the cat. First, he gained wood rat shield passive, increase resistance to disease by 15%. And then Bandersnatch shield passive, increase resistance to bleed out by 5%. Na gets back up as she looks at an angry Bakugou. "What the hell did I say to you about following orders?" He raises his voice to her. "But sir, I just don't give me excuses. I expect discipline from you. Drop and give me 300 push-ups. Now." "Yes sir." And Na without question proceeds to do what Bakugou ordered. He may have hardened her a bit, but she was still a young woman in a mostly alien world to her. So she had a long way to go. Bakugou knew that this kind of cowardliness couldn't go on forever if he wants her to not stagnate and hold him back. He needed her to fight bigger monsters, more often. He remembers from his investigation on his second day here that there was a building that provided different quests for a variety of things and gain rewards from doing them. He may be hated by the entire city, but they couldn't stop him from taking any quests, and he knew a few of them had to involve fighting giant monsters. It seemed perfect for him. He can gain both extra money and prestige for completing these quests, and he can get Nina to train her better to not be afraid of fighting larger monsters. He can kill two birds with one stone, and after thinking about it some more he was now fully committed to the idea. He looks down at his sidekick. Listen here baby, we are going to be for now on be doing quests, and these quests will involve fighting giant monsters. I didn't train you for nothing, so you better get used to fighting those bigger than you. Bakugou then sinisterly smiles, or they're going to chew you up into bones. He finishes Nanu now that her master was pulling no more punches and had her committed to be an active member of these quests, whether she was ready for them or not. The day after that, Bakugou finally began to apply for quests. Most of the quests were just to kill specific monsters for certain clients, but it was all he could apply for since no one wanted any other help from a supposed rapist. Bakugou and No would do the quests to kill the specific monsters and get rewarded for it. Though it continued to be a mixed bag for No while she continues to kill the small or medium-sized fodder, she can't hold the courage to go after anything a little bit taller than her. No matter how many times Bakugou would punish her with a hard exercise, her fear was greater than her pride. Bakugou just continues to sigh as the two do this for 2 days. By the third day, Bakugou had signed up for a big quest. From what he read from the flyer in the quest giver when he met up with him, the situation is that the quest giver is a wealthy general store owner but also a sheep farmer whose store and farm were currently a bit away from a small town called Lute, but lately many of his sheep had gone missing. Some assumed they just got lost, but it was eventually found out that a small group of 10-foot-tall trolls had been kidnapping the sheep early in the morning and take them away to a local swamp. They aren't sure what the trolls were doing with them, and anyone who had gone to follow the trolls never came back. But the farmer didn't care why, he just wanted them killed off and to save whatever sheep is left for 500 silver. Bakugou and Nina travel into the swamp following the giant footprints to their targets. Nina was getting nervous by all of this. Are you sure we are up to this, sir? I mean to fight something this big. Don't you think? Quit your damn whining. I didn't train you to have you cower away from danger. You need to suck it up and don't allow size or level numbers affect your state of mind. Bakugou barks to Nina. Nina twirls her fingers, nervous around, feeling that she has been disappointing Bakugou lately and feared that he might have had enough of her and would throw her away just like her people had done before. She tried to talk to him. Sir, I just wanted to say. Shhhh. Be quiet and crouch down. Bakugou whispered to her as she quickly followed suit. They both hear some noise that sounded like chanting, and from the sound of it some drums playing. The two slowly walked through the wet swampy ground as they moved toward a large bush where they peek over to see what it was. Turns out the noise is from the giant trolls that were there after all. They were giant 10-foot-tall greenish-gray monsters with big red eyes, large pointy ears, rough dirty skin that looked hard as stone, had a foul odor around them, and they were wearing what resembled Native American tribal clothing with one beating on 2 large drums. There were 8 of them. It looked like they were dancing around doing some sort of ceremony. They were next to a large lake, and by its shore was a pen of the stolen sheep. No was curious of it. What do you think they are doing, Bakugou? Who the hell cares what these ugly bastards are doing? They will be dead soon anyway, Bakugou answers, as well as thinking up a plan to kill off the trolls. But as he was thinking, they both saw some bubbles coming out of the lake with the trolls, getting more excited as they chant louder than before, with the one with the drums playing even harder. Whatever was down there finally came up. It was a giant bluish-green water serpent with some small red frills on the top of its head that towered over the trolls over 30 feet tall, with the rest of its body still in the water as the lake monster looks down at the sheep. The serpent lowers its head down to smell the sheep, with its tongue showing off rows of sharp teeth. A helpless sheep just stand there in the pen knowing it can do nothing. The serpent finally launches its snake tongue around the sheep, threw it up in the air and ate it whole. The trolls cheered and continued their dance of celebration as the serpent continues to eat the many other sheep in the pen one by one. Nina was growing more and more nervous, not knowing what she would be able to do against giant trolls, let alone a giant serpent that the trolls seemed to be worshipping. But Bakugou finally had a plan. "Okay Blue, listen closely. I'll use airstrike shield and jump attack the fat bastard with the drums. This will shock and surprise the rest of the ugly bastards. While they are distracted and are looking toward me, you will attack the closest one from behind and kill it. Go for the head. Their skin doesn't look as thick up there, so one good stab there should do it. After that the 6 left will try to attack me. I'll keep the majority distracted while you continue to kill them off one by one from behind until they are all dead. Hopefully, that giant snake thing will be too occupied by eating sheep, but once the trolls are dealt with, I'll get the giant snake thing to attack me while you get to its side and use your shock attack on its neck, and while it's disabled I'll blow that slippery bastard's head up. You got that?" Nina didn't say a word but just shakes her head yes in agreement. Bakugou grins and sets himself up. "Good, in a count of 3, we'll strike now." "Okay, 1, 2, 3. And Bakugou rushes out and uses his airstrike shield to jump on. Then with quick precision he emits a big explosion right on the drum plane troll, blowing his head off, killing it instantly. That got the others' attention. Nina knew that was her cue and goes to attack the closest distracted troll from behind. But as she was running towards it, she stopped as she looks horrified by how big the troll was up close, and lost sight of Bakugou's plan. Things go awry when the troll turns its head, noticing her from behind, and attempts to smash her with a giant club. Nina didn't know what to do anymore but to run from it while Bakugou had the other 6 following him trying to smash him. "What the hell are you doing, idiot? Kill the fat bastard already!" He yells at her as he used his shield to block the trolls' strong attacks as well as using his quirk to blast at them, but their torso skin was so thick that their HP barely went down from the blasts. He knew he needed to aim for their heads to kill them quickly. He managed to kill one that got too close, but the others were keeping their distance to attempt to kill Bakugou. Nina continues to run and dodge away from her troll, not having the courage to attack it despite Bakugou's orders. She became so distracted from her fear of the troll, another one left Bakugou's group and runs up to Nina and backhands her with the force of it, sending Nina into the sheep pen right in front of the serpent, while initially shocking the serpent as she lands on top of the sheep. The giant slimy monster lowered itself down to smell her, and quickly saw her as something good to eat. It quickly attempts to chomp at her, but she managed to quickly dodge away as it smashes its face on the ground. Nina got up and runs to safety as the serpent immediately tried to lunge at her again, but Bakugou activates his airstrike shield behind her in time to save Nina. Bakugou was getting pissed off of how badly this plan had failed. He finally used his airstrike again to jump away from the troll group, and along the way he blasts one troll's head off from the air, killing it instantly. He sprints toward Nina as she runs away in fear of the 2 trolls going after her again. Bakugou jumps up with his quirk and got on top one of the distracted trolls as he blasts it through the neck, quickly killing it. The other troll had cornered Nina and was ready to smash her with his club, only for his head to suddenly explode. As it falls forward dead, Bakugou was up standing on its back. He looks toward Nina with her, seeing Bakugou's extremely angry face with him not even saying a word to her. The 3 trolls that were left started running up toward Bakugou and Nina until he launches a magic attack. The spell creates a hole in the ground with the 2 of the 3 trolls falling into it. Stuck and unable to get out of it, Bakugou runs up and quickly blasts at the 2 helpless trolls in the head, leaving only one left. The last one was the biggest troll, most likely the chief, as he tried to hold his ground. It was smarter than the other ones, so it didn't blindly attack Bakugou with him ready to make his move with the monster. The troll chief swings his club at Bakugou as he uses his shield to block every attack, as the troll tried its best to tire out Bakugou, but he wasn't at all getting tired from this as he uses his explosions near the troll to damage its health. The troll finally lost his patience and finally charged at Bakugou, but suddenly, chomp! The serpent finally lunged down, chopped on the giant troll and proceeded to swallow it whole. It then set its eyes on Bakugou, seeing him as a meal as well. Bakugou readies his shield, and the serpent lunges at him with Bakugou using his quirk to jump away and landed on the large monster's neck. The serpent turns to attempt to bite Bakugou, but his use of the airstrike shield stopped the monster as he jumps off. The serpent finally used its long-range attack, poison acid, that it spits and sprays at Bakugou. Despite blocking most of it with the shield, some of the acid was getting on and burning him a bit, but thankfully his defense makes it manageable as he continues to dodge around and block the beast's attacks. Bakugou finally came up with a risky but sound plan. After some more acrobatic jumping and blocking, he finally just stops and stands there with the serpent waiting for something to happen, but Bakugou continued to stand there, as he was waiting to collect sweat in his palms. The serpent finally attacks again without Bakugou moving, and with all the sweat he collected he blasted a big explosion right inside the serpent's mouth, completely blowing its head up. The headless serpent, after some squirming, finally falls to the ground, now dead. Though Bakugou found something weird. Despite clearly killing it, he received no experience points from it, despite getting a bunch from the trolls. But that was the last thing on his mind right now as he looks back at his sidekick, who just came back out from hiding. Bakugou was extremely mad at her as he grits his teeth. He finally stumps his way to her. No attempts to calm him down. "Look sir, I don't you goddamn sir me. I gave you an order. I told you about the plan. And all you did was be a liability to me. I wasted a damn week of my time to get you active. And this is what I get out of you. A damn coward crybaby." He yells at her, though this was more than typical Bakugou yelling. This was yelling coming from his personal disappointment of her. Na could barely hold back her tears as she tries to talk. I'm sorry, it's just. I'm not like you sir. I can't embrace danger like you. I didn't want to die. I tried and tried again, but I can't be a real hero like you. I just can't. I'm sorry. And with that she starts crying in front of Bakugou, letting all of her emotions out. Bakugou was still mad at her. He finally looked away and spoke again. "I knew you were hopeless. Just go back to that fat farmer, and just go to him, already." He yells as he turns away toward the dead trolls and to free the sheep and collect whatever the trolls had. Na was unable to say another word as she was in tears. She turns and slowly walks away in shame. She was given a new chance of shaping her life with the man that saved hers, and she completely blew it by not having the courage to fight with her master. She thinks that once he gets back to the quest giver, he would truly kick her off his party and abandon her, or worst, sell her off to slavery to make up the wasted money he spent on her. But she knew inside that Bakugou would never do that. However, it seemed hopeless for her. She figures she was never meant to be a hero and she doesn't deserve to ever be treated like one. Back with Bakugou, he moved toward the troll corpses and inserted a part of them into his shield, which says, "Skill unlocked, Swamp Troll Shield. Passive acid resistance increased by 10%. He then looked back at Na and sees her in shame. But as he was walking to free the sheep, he talks to himself, trying to justify his actions despite feeling a little upset over it. What the hell is wrong with me? Why am I feeling guilty over this? That baby refused to fight, and if she can't keep up with me, then I don't see why I should even bother with her anymore? But as he thinks deeper into this, all he could think of is Deku and All Might. He knew Deku was always a baby, and he imagined he cried multiple times with All Might during his training. But despite that, All Might never gave up on him, and he turned that very baby to his true rival in you. How am I supposed to be a better hero than All Might if I can't even be a proper trainer like him? Damn it! He shouts as he lets out a large explosion near the lake that frightened the sheep. As he opens the pen, the sheep run out, knowing the way back to their own farm. Bakugou looks back at Na one more time as she finally stopped walking and started to cry next to a tree. Bakugou's guilt continues to rise as he sees himself more of a failure than his own sidekick. In a way, who's more to blame, the student or the master that didn't have the patience for his student? Bakugou just sits down as he rubs his head, thinking. After some time, he just sighs to himself, "This is stupid, but I'm going to have to just talk with the stupid crybaby and see if I can. But Bakugou is interrupted when he sees bubbles coming out of the water, making him get up and walk away from the lake. Suddenly a new identical serpent came out of the water, but it wasn't by itself, as yet another identical serpent came out next to it. Great. You damn slimy asses ruined the damn moment. I'll be giving you the same treatment as your headless corpse of a friend. He yells at the serpents. The serpents then both shoot acid at Bakugou, Swamp Troll Shield. He yells and his shield turns into a large rock-solid shield that resembles a troll face, with it taking the full force of the acid. It seemed that trolls were able to tolerate the acid blasts from these things that got inherited into his shield. The serpents then tried to repeatedly lunge and strike at Bakugou, attempting to chew him up, but the young hero's quirk allowed him to dodge every attack, as well as giving them a good strike near their eyes, keeping his distance away from their reach. The serpents became more aggressive as they smashed their heads on the ground, attempting to squish their prey. But Bakugou knew how to easily kill them, as he did with the other serpent. He baits one head into lunging its head to the ground, letting it get stuck for a few seconds, and allows the other serpent to attempt to eat him whole. But just as before, Bakugou emits a huge explosion right inside the monster, blowing its head up, killing it like he did the other one. When the other serpent gets its teeth out of the ground, it lunges at Bakugou, but the hero jumps out of the way and lands on top of its head. As the monster tries to shake him off, Bakugou puts both of his hands on the lower part of its neck, and after another explosion completely blows the head off its neck. The dead monster squirms and then falls flat on the ground. Bakugou felt pumped up after the exciting battle, but he then quickly noticed something off again. He earned no XP from the kills, just like the other serpent. What the hell is this bullcrap? How do none of these things provide no all? A loud screech comes out of nowhere, interrupting Bakugou and alerting Na as she looks behind from a tree. They both turned to the source of it, underwater in the lake. And to his horrid surprise, it was even more serpents, just as the ones he fought before, but this time there were 6 of them as they arise out one by one out of the water. Bakugou jumps back out of their reach. What the hell is this? Is this some monster family picnic or something? Bakugou yells as he readies himself again. But then he heard a strange noise from his sides, and to his surprise quickly sees that the 3 dead headless serpents were now moving again, and they soon rose toward the other live ones. The severed necks then split into 2 by themselves, and by the looks of it they were regenerating themselves back up as 2 separate necks. Neither Bakugou nor Na from afar knew what was happening at first, but the answer became clear once they saw a large clawed reptilian foot coming out of the lake shore. As another clawed foot comes out, it became apparent what this really was. As a giant body rises out of the lake, it turned out that these are not separate creatures, but they were all heads attached to a giant reptilian body with a long tail. As the giant monster comes out of the water, those separate headless necks had finally fully regrown back as regular heads again, with not just the ones that Bakugou killed before, also from the new necks. What started as a beast with 9 heads had now become one with 12 heads. Bakugou in horror knew what he had unleashed. These are not serpents. It's a goddamn hydra. Oh! The giant monster finally shrieks loudly across the swamp. Bakugou had heard of such a monster from playing games about Greek mythology in middle school. He knew that cutting off one head would only make 2 more grow back, and his actions had just given the monster more heads to deal with. Why the hell didn't I think of this through? How could have I not noticed why these things were completely submerged, or why I was getting no XP from the kills? Idiot, idiot, idiot. He yells and hits himself in anger. But he had to refocus himself as the hydra was finally ready to attack. All at once the 12 heads lunges at Bakugou, airstrike shield. He creates in front of him as the 12 heads bash into it, stopping them but breaking the energy shield. The force of it pushes Bakugou away a bit. Bakugou stood his ground, but the hydra began to stomp its way at him. Many adventurers would have just made a run for it. But Bakugou was too stubborn to just run away, and he knew that with its food source gone, it will be only a matter of time before this monster will leave the swamp to terrorize and eat people to feed itself. So he knew he had to kill this thing now or more people will die because of him. But the monster was relentless. Its head starts striking Bakugou at different angles as well as spitting acids on him at the same time. Bakugou knew he couldn't just blast their heads like before since that will only make things worse, so he struggles to find a way to kill the thing as they continue to strike at him over and over in every direction. It was hard for Bakugou to concentrate with so many heads attacking him at once. He continues to use his shield to block the heads lunging at and spitting acid at him. He repeatedly uses his quirk to blast near the head's eye to stun them, but it wasn't enough as the hero was becoming overwhelmed by the multiple-headed monster. The HP on the thing was ridiculously high and was at level 70 and the attacks on the heads weren't counting to anything. It seemed hopeless for Bakugou. Na watches in horror in the background as she sees Bakugou barely holding out on the monster. She knew it was only a matter of time before he couldn't take it anymore. Sir Bakugou, please just run away, you know you can't beat it, so why are you fighting it? She says to herself, putting in her guilt in as she continues to cower away while her master was fighting the 12-headed monster by himself. Why? Why was I born so weak? Why? Why can't I lift my sword to fight? She kneels down in tears as she didn't know what to do. She remembers what her family has called her since she was a child, a waste of the bloodline, a disgrace, a pathetic weakling. It was all coming back to her. But as she remembers those voices, she remembered one other, Sir Bakugou's. He said similar things to her as well, but rather than completely dismissing her, he was willing to help her. He wasted so much time to train her and she went from the weak girl who could barely hold a sword into one who can now wipe the floor of small monsters. I did have the power in me, Sir Bakugou showed me that and I failed to show him back what I could really do. She says as she starts to grip her sword, I think it's time for me to finally show him what he had helped created. She finally comes out of hiding. She stares at the monster battle. Bakugou, the only person to have ever helped her, now she was the only one here to help him. I don't want to be a coward anymore. She then starts to walk toward the Hydra. I want to have a place in this world. I want to be a hero to help other people like me. I want. She grips her sword harder and harder and finally with all of her newfound courage she holds the sword with both hands in combat position. I want to save my master. She then charges toward at the tail of the Hydra yelling out loud. Back with Bakugou, he continues to struggle with the Hydra as he was growing tired and overwhelmed by the dozen heads attacking him in different ways. Some heads bashed their way at Bakugou, others spit acid, and a few tried biting him. Dodging or blocking every attack had prevented Bakugou from thinking of some way of killing it without destroying more heads. But eventually, Bakugou was overwhelmed and became cornered by a large swamp tree. He was tired and outmatched by the giant monster as 10 heads above looked down on him with 2 other heads on his sides to prevent him from escaping. Despite the hopeless situation, Bakugou wasn't going to go out without a fight. Come and get me, you multi-headed bastards. I'll blow all of your damn heads off if I have to. He yells at them. The 10 heads all spit acid at once at Bakugou. They continued to spray hoping to finally kill their prey, but Bakugou's strength kept going as he holds up his droll shield above him, unwilling to allow the acid to kill him. They eventually stop as Bakugou lowers his shield. Is that the best you got? Bring it on. He yells again. The Hydra heads had enough and were about ready to all attack at once to rip Bakugou apart and kill him for good. Just as they were all about to lunge, the monster screams in pain all of a sudden. The heads looked behind them and saw that their tail was cut off. It was Ne who had just sliced a good chunk of it off. Ne then jumped on the Hydra's back and stood on it as she looks up at the Hydra with an angry and confident face. I might be scared out of my mind right now, but I'm no coward. Come at me, you ugly bastards. She yells at the monster heads. Bakugou witnesses this from afar and was genuinely surprised to see his prodigy was finally standing up top of a high-level monster. I be damned, the blue baby finally got it. He says to himself. The 10 very angry heads attempt to lunge at Na only for Bakugou to yell, "Airstrike shield!" With them smacking into the green shield, it allowed Na to jump out of the way. The 2 heads that were beside Bakugou finally decided to strike him with open mouths until the shield hero jumps up away with his quirk from the 2 as they bite into each other instead. Bakugou makes a run from the Hydra to get some distance from it as the majority of heads refocuses back at Bakugou to kill him. Na remained under the Hydra as 2 of its heads attempt to bite at her, with the young elf slicing at the monster's heads to keep their distance but not killing them so they wouldn't grow more. Na then quickly puts both of her hands on the monster's belly and after saying the magic enchantment shouts, "Electric shock!" Na emits a large surge of electricity, zapping the Hydra like mad as it roars in pain with her head swinging out of control. It used almost all of her magic MP, but the monster was now temporarily stunned as she runs back to Bakugou as he drinks a health and stamina potion. "Are you okay, sir?" she asked him after throwing her one. He finally spoke, "Yeah, I'm fine, whatever. We'll save the sweet talk for later. Right now we need to find a way to kill this thing before it goes out to find an alternative food source." While still acting harshly deep inside, he's somewhat happy that his sidekick came back and knew it. "Should we try cutting all of their heads off at once?" she suggested. "You idiot, cutting off its heads will only make it worse, and I doubt doing it at the same time is going to matter. Maybe it has a weak spot or some special organ that could kill it instantly," she also suggested. "Don't be stupid, what monster like that could have such a Vita?" "Hey, wait a minute." Bakugou pauses as she gave him an idea. He activates his magnifying shield and used it to detect heat on the Hydra. He quickly found the largest source of the heat a little bit below the neck ends of the Hydra heads. Bakugou knew what this had to be, the Hydra's heart. Bakugou turns back to Na. "Okay, listen, Blue, I doubt this bastard's heart can multiply like its heads, so I need to just do one big blast on it and this giant slimy bastard will fall dead along with its heads. But for it to work I need you on my side this time, so if you cower away again, we will both die." Na stood up with her hand on her heart. "I'll be brave this time, sir. I promise," she answers him. "Good, I'll engage it to attract the attention of most of the heads. Wait for the right time and hold back until I say so, and once I yell, you will jump and cut this monster right on the top of its chest with the sword, even if you have to chop off some heads along the way. Got it?" he explains to her. "Yes, sir," she answers quickly to Bakugou. After Bakugou smirks in pride, they both noticed that the Hydra got itself back up, no longer stunned. Now more enraged than ever, it starts to run toward Bakugou, extremely angry. Na runs out as she waits for her signal out of Bakugou's way. Bakugou launches himself up to the trees with the rope shield and his quirk. While on the branches, the Hydra heads started to attack him up above, forcing Bakugou to jump across from tree to tree as the Hydra tears apart the branches. Bakugou continues to run across the branch lines as the giant monster attempts to eat him while knocking over trees completely down. It was until he got himself on a very large and thick tree that he was cornered at before. It was too strong for the Hydra to just tip over. The monster stands on its hind legs with the front legs laying on the tree, for its heads to reach him. Most of the heads were engaged on Bakugou, though 2 others were looking behind itself to protect itself from another sneak attack. Na continues to stand her ground as she waits for Bakugou's signal, getting nervous again from the sheer size of the monster like before. After getting himself higher, the Hydra moved its body even further up, finally leaving its entire lower body completely exposed. Bakugou knew this was it and yells, "Blue! Cut it up now!" He yells. Na knew this was her cue and runs toward the Hydra. Her brain was telling her to run away, but her heart refused to as she continued to run. The heads looking behind itself engages Na with her dodging every attack at the 2 heads. When she had the opportunity, she used her powered-up sword to slice the monster's heads off while it will give it more heads. Bakugou and Na were determined that the plan will work, so neither cared. After dealing with the heads with Na's newfound courage, she was finally near the base of the tree. Bakugou then shouts as he distracts the other heads, "Airstrike shield!" Right in the air between the tree and the Hydra's stomach. using her super jump ability from her training in magic, had got herself up on the shield platform ready to make her move. Two newly grown heads attempt to lunge at her, but she quickly jumps off the energy platform toward the Hydra's chest and finally stabs deep into it right below the necks. It causes great pain to the monster as Na slides down with her sword, creating a big opening gap on the monster until she finally falls to the ground and runs toward a safe distance. The big cut didn't kill the monster, but it cut its HP in half and was suffering from great pain as some of its intestines came out, with one of its clawed hands trying to hold it in. Bakugou jumps off using his quirk as he dodges the heads in the air as they miss or bite into each other. Bakugou finally lands and regroups with Na while the Hydra remains in deep pain. "So sir, what now?" she asked. "I need that bastard to get its big hand off of its chest. I'm going to need you to stab it on the arm covering its chest, then I will come in to do the big boom on the bastard's heart. I don't care how many heads you have to cut off, just make sure you get it to move its hand," he asked and ordered, with Na nodding in agreement. If her master wasn't afraid, then she shouldn't be afraid herself. The monster turns back at the two and starts to limp toward them in rage. With Bakugou and Na finally running to engage it themselves, with Bakugou taking the lead, blocking any attack that came in the two's way and Na slicing away at any resistance. Bakugou was avoiding using his explosions as he builds up sweat in his palms ready for his ultimate move. Na did what Bakugou told her and chopped off as many heads as she can, no matter how many would come back. When they got close enough to the monster, Bakugou gave his order, "Stab the leg, now." Na splits off and runs toward its left leg with the newly grown heads trying to lunge at her, but Bakugou releases one more airstrike shield to block them. Na finally engages with her charged up katana and without fear stabs the Hydra's leg, forcing it to let go of its chest. It then tired to smash her with it as she dodges out of the way. Bakugou finally jumps up with his quirk as he blasted himself up toward the opening as the Hydra heads lunge at him, but he continues to jump on top of their heads as they try all they can to stop him, but finally, he makes the final move as he jumps off the last Hydra heads as he twirls his body around with his sweat until finally, howitzer impact. He shouts out, and once he was right next to the opening where the Hydra's heart was at, boom. Bakugou lets out a giant explosion that blew right through the monster's body, completely destroying its heart and other internal organs. The monster screams in agony as it gives out the last of its life until it finally collapses on the ground along with its many heads. The Hydra was finally dead. Both Bakugou and Na kneeled from exhaustion after that huge fight. They knew it was 100% dead now as they finally got XP from it. Over 10,000, bumping their levels to 36 and 25 respectively. Bakugou didn't pay much mind to it, but Na couldn't feel any prouder of herself. She helped defeat a monster of nightmares that even Grand Knights would fear it. She, a weakling discarded by her people, had helped slay a mighty monster with someone who gave her a chance. After some time catching his breath and drinking some healing potions from all of the acid he had to deal with, Bakugou got himself up and ripped off a part of one Hydra's dead heads and absorbed it inside his shield, revealing, "Shield unlocked, Hydra shield, passive defense against acid increased up to 50%. Na took up the courage to talk to her master again, to talk to him about her behavior earlier. "Sir, I'm sorry for what I did back at the Drolls earlier. I knew what to do, but I didn't have the strength in me to kill something so big. I thought it was hopeless, but after seeing you fight that Hydra, despite it being levels higher and had you outnumbered, you still persist and continued fighting it, not showing any fear. It inspired me to get back and to help you as you did for me with the bandits." She then kneels before Bakugou. "I'm truly grateful of what you have done for me. I'm now willing to fight with you in any battle from now on as your sidekick, no matter the situation or how great the threat is," she says with Bakugou, who just stares down at the girl. He then turns around, "Yeah, whatever, just don't run off again like a baby and we're cool." Bakugou said bluntly, still trying to act tough. Na wasn't upset. She understood that for her master standards that was a great forgiveness to her as she gets herself back up. "You still got a lot to learn, kid, but I will still train you however I can to make you into a competent hero." But despite that, Even though I'm not much to give praises to anyone, I think I can at least say this. Good job out there. He says to her, giving her a small smile, with her releasing a tear from such kindness from heart as stone. Bakugou. Thank you, master, Na says to Bakugou. She then looks back at the giant dead hydra. So what are we going to do with this giant smelly body, sir? She asked. You will cut out as much meat as possible. I'll blow as much of it away as possible of what's left. It'll fetch a price and should feed us for a few weeks, he answers her. Na agrees as she proceeds to cut up the monsters for its meat as Bakugou blows up the inedible parts. Once they've finished off the hydra corpse, Bakugou and Na got back to the quest giver at the general store healed for their reward. Okay, shield hero, 500 silvers as promised. Now unless you're buying anything, get lost. The quest giver Rudy said to him, reluctant to be talking to the so-called shield devil as he gives him his reward. But Bakugou wasn't done with him yet. We deserve far more than this. You didn't tell us we were dealing with a damn hydra out there. He raises his voice at the quest giver, who just laughed. Ha, a hydra, like you would even be still alive from one. How about you buzz off before I call the guards? I paid you already for killing the trolls and my sheep's return, so don't try to scam me with your silly hydra stories. The quest giver said. But Bakugou then placed his shield arm on the shopkeeper desk and shouts, Hydra shield, and with that his shield transformed and forms a shield with a small but long and living hydra head coming out of it. The shopkeeper was frightened as hell from the head and falls on the ground with the long head looking down on him while it licks its mouth. Bakugou grins and says, you better compensate us more or I might lose control. It could even spit acid. The shopkeeper panicked as he got himself back up. No. Alright, I'll give you another 500 silver for your trouble for the hydra. Does that sound fair? The keeper begs with Bakugou, who is smirking even more. Good, this monster didn't go down easily and even had to get my sidekick to help me with it, he says, with the hydra head disappearing, with Bakugou transforming it back to his regular shield, and the keeper gives him another 500 silver. Bakugou continued to talk to him. Oh yeah, and how much would you buy, say, a pound of hydra meat? Oh about 3 silvers per pound. The shopkeeper quickly answered. Good, cause I need to sell at least 500 pounds of this stuff or it will overstuff my inventory, Bakugou says, with the shopkeeper just signed to himself for all the money he has to dish out to the shield hero. At least he would make a good return by reselling the hydra meat later. As Bakugou hands him the packets of meat, Na spoke up. Sir, why didn't you just shown him the hydra meat first to prove you killed it rather than scaring him like that? Because it's more fun that way. Oh yeah, you can't stop calling me just sir now. I'm actually getting sick of it. You can say Sir Bakugou again. Na was happy to hear such words from Bakugou and nods to him with approval. After finally giving the 500 pounds of the hydra meat and the shopkeeper giving him 1,500 silvers for it, as Bakugou turns away from the shopkeeper, Na speaks up. So where to now, Sir Bakugou? She asked. We need to visit other towns. There are probably more quests and new skills to learn out there, and I'm not going to let those damn nerds get ahead of me first, so we need to get going. And I still have to train you more to be of use to me. Bakugou answers to Na, who nods in agreement, now feeling she has a place with him as they head for the door. But as they were near the door, a man comes running through in a hurry to the general store owner. He was breathing heavily when he got to the counter. Do you sell any medicine here, any kind for curing high fevers? The shopkeeper shook his head. Sorry pal, we ran out 2 weeks ago. After the first wave hit, the guards had began buying and stockpiling it at the capital. You may be better off finding it in a different town out in the woods. I have plenty of hydra meat though if you're interested, he answered. Please, I've already asked for something from my town's local doctor and the church, and they were out of the same thing. My mother's old and extremely ill, and if I don't get this medicine to her soon, I don't know if she could hold out any longer. The desperate man asked, but the shopkeeper just shook his head again. He didn't have much else to offer to him, and he no longer had that product that he would have been willing to sell to him. Bakugou and Na were listening in and drove their attention. Damn it, I'll have to find medicine in another town then. Please mother, hold on a little longer, he says to himself as he runs toward the door. But before he could get to it, Itna jumps in the way. Excuse me sir, but you're needing of some fever-related medicine, is that correct? She asked. Yes, my elder mother is sick, so unless you can help me, can you please get out of my way before it's too late? The man says to her. Well, good news to you. My master here knows how to make high-quality medicine for you without much effort. She pitches Bakugou to him. Hey! I'm the one in charge here. Don't be telling others what I'm capable of unless I say so. Bakugou shouts at Itna, who didn't react much as she was getting used to his yelling by now. The man immediately turned to Bakugou. Are you serious, her shield hero? Please tell me you can make quality medicine, right? He asked, not caring if he was asking help from the so-called shield devil at this point. Yeah, but I don't just do my services for free, so you got anything to offer for it? Bakugou demanded. Yes, but I only have about 20 silvers with me right now. I might be able to give you more if I get back home quick enough. The man says. Bakugou turned toward the shopkeeper. Hey cheapskate, how much does the medicine usually cost? He asked. About 20 silvers when in very high demand. The keeper nervously answered him, not wanting to anger the shield hero again. Bakugou looks back at the desperate man and answers, alright, how about this? Take us to wherever your sick mom is at and later on tell us what you know about your town, some shops, the locals as well as other nearby towns, and I'll heal your mom, free of charge. Bakugou answers him. Free? Are you serious? The man asked. Yes, now make up your mind before I change mine, Bakugou says to him. Thank you, brave hero, bless you and your partner. The man thanks Bakugou. The three then head off to the man's hometown not too far away from Loot Village, with Bakugou feeling a bit prideful for finally getting recognized as the hero he is. He could have charged the man, but he wasn't the type that would stoop to levels of some corrupt heroes who would charge for basic help. And they were not scrapping for cash right now, so he didn't need the money anyway. No was also quite happy by this, from both being recognized by someone as Bakugou's partner, a hero, but also for Bakugou's kindness to the man. I knew you had a soft spot in that hard exterior somewhere. She compliments him. Hey, I'm not being soft, Blue. This is just a way for us to find out more quests and new skills. Now thinking about it though, we could pretty much start up our own traveling healthcare service to give us an excuse to travel around and show who are the real heroes in this world and not a bunch of damn nerds. Bakugou talks back, trying to deny Na's compliment. Na just smiles as they walk with the man to his village, especially when he said heroes rather than just hero. He was also talking about her as well. Well, sir Bakugou, I guess you can say we both have ways to go to be better heroes, and I will help you along the way. Na finally says to him. Bakugou just smiles as he looks up toward the sunset, thinking to himself. He felt just like All Might now. He was turning this nobody into a great hero just like him. He can see why All Might was always willing to smile for helping people and being the hero he is. Author's note: I've debated if I should have divided this into 2 chapters or not, considering how long this chapter went on, but I finally decided to keep it 1 chapter as I feel like it flows better with the larger story. But if enough people think this is too long, I can fix it by easily splitting it into 2 chapters. But if you guys don't care about how long a chapter of interest of Bakugou, nor do I intend to turn this group into a harem, there will be other males in this group other than Bakugou. I don't intend Bakugou to have any sort of love interest, straight, gay, or otherwise in this story. It would be extremely out of character for Bakugou to be just chasing girls or fall in love, as he's of yet to show any romantic affection with anyone in canon. He's basically married to his job, so everything involving his teammates is strictly platonic and nothing else. So unless the author of MHA announces something about Bakugou's love life, I won't get involved in it. And again, don't worry about Raftlia, she will be alive in this story and will be a character. I have an arc for her along with another character based on stuff from the light novel, but that will be a long way down the road, so be patient, and thank you for reading.